Hello there, and happy Halloween. My name is Bruce, and I have my co host here, Janet from another planet.
Hello.
Tonight's episode of A Girl, a Guy, and a Movie is episode 30. We're going to be discussing this wonderful classic called The Thing. Janet.
Great movie.
Yeah, amazing film. When did you first see this movie?
I can't really remember. I think I watched it at my parents' house on there. I don't remember. Guess it was a beta or something, maybe.
Okay. Very familiar with the Sony player from back in the 80s.
Or maybe it was the giant round thing. I'm trying to remember. I can't remember. Remember those?
I do. I never had one, but I got to see one in the 90s after they were done, after they had ran their course.
Yeah, they weren't out very long, but I think my dad bought a whole bunches of those because he got a real good deal on them, and I think that might have been what I watched. I don't remember, but it was really, really creepy, and it was good.
Yeah. I first saw this when I was in like maybe the year after it came out. I was watching it at a friend's house on HBO, and I had no business watching this movie. I was like 6 or 8, I can't remember. But me and Tommy would always do that. I would go to his house, and then I'd watch HBO with him, and I'd see all the movies. Mom said, "No, that's rated R. They're rotten." So,
yeah, when you say that to your kid, all it does is make you want to go sneak around and watch it.
That's all it does.
Rated R means I gotta watch it. So yeah.
In the chat, we have our friendly neighborhood polar bear, Snortopupus Cuber.
Yeah.
Hello,
hi, Snortopupus. Hope you're doing good for Halloween.
I hope he's doing good. He says he's doing good.
Sweetheart. I've been talking to him for years in chats. It seems like forever.
He's absolutely a genius.
Yeah.
He is. Talking about here, he wants to snack on a mermaid.
Oh, sorry, I'm not a mermaid.
The last one was downright tasty.
I'm alien tonight.
Definitely not a mermaid.
Mm-mm. But I like this blonde hair. It's really hard to go platinum, though. Very expensive.
I asked him if it tastes like chicken, and he's like, "Nope, she tastes like a blend of mackerel and Daryl Hannah."
Oh, well, that's pretty good. It's better than smelly dead fish.
We have Shadow and Sun on avocado time. Hey, Shadow.
Hello, Shadow. Haven't seen him since Saturday.
Six Nations, 31 Kings pops in the chat. Hey, sir.
Hello.
How you doing?
Yeah, I can't see the chat while I'm on here because I don't know how to. I just haven't learned how to do that yet. I'm sorry, guys.
You're good. Nations and Six Nations, 31 Kings talks to Shadow about the video he just released about why we play the game. Shadow's got a playlist of that, of why we play our tabletop games. Then the gentlemen start talking to each other. And it says, "Here we go. Here we go. Stream Elements. Here we go."
What is Stream Elements?
It's a way for you to earn income and to set up a alternate revenue stream from merch.
Oh, so you get that when you become monetized?
Nope, you can have that at your level.
Oh, well, I can't even write to people, so I'm not going to worry about it. I can't do any of that stuff.
We'll do there'll be a trainer.
Because I had to watch a video made by a 10-year-old boy just to learn how to make an intro for my book. That's how bad it is. I mean, it's really bad. I wish I could just. I just wish I was smarter.
You're fine. You're very smart in your own way. With things that I'm not familiar with, I am all thumbs. Snortopoopa says, speaking of opposable thumbs, I could snack on an Andoran. I love exotic food. Way too many Smurf berries this morning, Janet? Asks Shadow.
Yep.
Way too many. People are referring to your
look like a demon. I'm an alien. See, these are antenna.
All right. So this movie, The Thing, is crazy good. And when I say crazy good, I mean this is one of those movies that when you watch it, this isn't exactly the type of film that you casually have on in the background.
The music alone won't let you just leave it on the background. The intense, the thumping. I wish we could play it, but I don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah, that's the problem that I have with YouTube. I can't play these things. They want me to like cough up a lot of money, or I get suspended for weeks.
So if you pay a certain amount of money, you can play movies and stuff on your channel?
I think so. Or if you've got like the right amount of people that are watching, I think you can skirt it by saying, oh, well, we're just doing a review of it. But I don't have that ability. I don't have 7,500 people in chat.
Well, if I was rich, I'd try to pay for us to be able to do that, because it'd be fun. But just the opening scene where you hear the thumping, coming up, and it starts getting a little louder, and then all of a sudden you see the helicopter, okay, and then you see the dog running through the snow. And man, that was a well-trained dog, or the way that they filmed it to where you didn't see any marks in the snow around the dog as he was running. I was really shocked by that because of this. When was this movie made?
When was it? 1981.
Okay, it came out in 81.
82 was when the release was, but I believe 81.
81. And after I found out about the whole way they made the Thing sign at the beginning with the hot torch, heat torch blowing, and then the letters melting out from the black plastic bag that was in there with the light behind it. So that was how they made that special effect for the opening, for the trailer of, in the opening of the movie. I thought that was a really unique aspect, because they actually had to use their imagination to come up with different things to bring attention to certain aspects of things that were going on in the movies without the CGI and some of the fancy stuff that you see today. I mean, sometimes I get tired of watching some of these movies where you can tell everything is CGI. It takes away from everything. But the way that they did the scenery, the isolation and the destitute area that they were at with the buildings and everything, you could tell they were all alone out there, that with the music and the creepiness, I noticed it more this time than I did when I watched it before, when I wasn't looking for the things, because this time I was watching it specifically to analyze it, not just to enjoy it. And the camera angles alone were enough to make my skin crawl. The way that the angles of, like, when you're going through the building they were in, with all the twists and turns that around any corner that something could pop out at you. So I just thought and the angle, the height that he did it was lower. So you had to basically see everything from the waist high, it seemed like. I thought the angles and stuff were really interesting. Did you notice any of that?
I did. The first scene where the dog runs across the snow, the fresh snow, that was pretty impressive. And then before that, there's a scene, 12 seconds, 15 seconds, where it shows a UFO flying along, going towards the Earth, and it looks like a cheap special effect, because it is. But I believe Universal said we need to have this in because otherwise people won't know what's going on. And so They didn't even do that with Carpenter's permission. They just filmed that scene.
Well, I didn't think it was bad. I mean, I didn't. I mean, I've seen so many cheap movies where you saw the strings on the paper plates that were painted.
Hey, hey, hey,
I've
hey, I
seen
feel
some
the
really
first thing
cheap
that.
movies like that. But that was fine because it was just in the opening, credit area. So it wasn't really, to me, part of the movie. The movie didn't really start until you see the helicopter, and then you don't know what they're doing or why they're trying to shoot this dog. But boy, that guy was a bad shot. I can
Oh,
tell
he
you
was
that.
terrible.
He
Yeah,
missed
and then-
more. But that was one thing I did notice, to nitpick it a little bit, was that you didn't see any dips in the snow around the dog,
Mm-mm.
for like missing it even close, to make it look more realistic that he was actually missing the dog. It's like the couple times when the dog jumped here and there, if they had to put a little dent into the snow, that would have been a little more realistic. But when I first watched it, I didn't even notice that stuff. But the part where the people all start running out because they, I mean, heck, why wouldn't they? Because there's nothing around there. It's the total barrenness, and so they would all run to the windows and, run outside, grabbing their jackets and stuff to see what's going on because someone's shooting, and they hear
Right.
the helicopter. So
If
I
they
thought
didn't
that was
already have their
really, really
jackets
good.
already on, if they weren't already dressed in layers inside, they'd grab their jackets. Yeah. From what I understand, that was a really cold shoot that they
Yeah,
did.
it looked like it. You could see their breath, and to me, it was very authentic to me. The whole setting of the actual compound area, to me, it looked very destitute. Very cold and barren. So
Abandoned.
it fit, and and the fact they had two guys there, that were both pilots, and one was looked like the ex war vet or whatever, smoking pot, wearing that vest, just like didn't give a shit about anything, because he didn't have to do anything besides fly. Basically he just, gets to sit around where everybody else does the science stuff and whatever else, cook or whatever. Like, what was it, Knowles?
Yes.
What his name was, the cook. And then Windows, I felt so bad for Windows. It seemed like everyone was mean to Windows, and he probably had the shittiest job on the place, trying to contact people or send out messages to do their updates and stuff about the weather and, all that stuff. And everybody just was mean to him. So I really felt bad for him. He sure looked familiar to me, though. I wonder what other types of movies he was in. But the more I watched him, the more I was like, gosh, he looks like someone. Either I know someone that looks like him, or I've seen other movies with him in it. It's very interesting to me. Because I don't remember noticing him that much in the first couple times I watched it.
Thomas G. Waits was the guy that played Windows,
Mm-hmm.
and he's just a character that he's born in '55. He's in a couple films that are recent, like 645, did that last year. He was in the Savant and the FBI TV series in 2019. And he also was Arthur Walsh in the Punisher TV series on Netflix.
Hmm.
But the thing I remember him most for was he was Fox on The Warriors.
Oh, I love that movie.
Oh,
That was a good movie.
that was
That's probably one of the reasons why I recognize him too. That was a good movie.
Yeah, he was in The Warriors, and you don't really see him too much in it. He's in the movie, but he's not he's one of the Warriors, but he just doesn't have a lot of speaking parts. He's a physical actor.
Mm-hmm.
He's very good with that. The guy that plays Knowles, T.K. Carter, he's still doing movies. Last movie he did was The Way Back in 2020, and he did the Bobby Brown story in 2018 as Herbert Brown.
He's a good actor, because I did recognize him from a few things. I couldn't put my finger right on it, but he seemed always to be believable, just like the guy in this one. Him being able to roller skate down the hallway to get around, and the part where the guy that got shot in the knee, and he's like, "Turn that shit down," or whatever. I got shot today, and you see him skate over there, and he just kind of goes flicks with his finger and just
Yeah.
keeps playing the music. He was. It made me remember him. I mean, from something I don't remember for sure what it was, but I did notice that he was someone that I've seen in other things, and I thought he did really good, believable character for the part that he was playing.
This really isn't a movie that you want to go digging around on like the IMDb. Oh, I wonder what they're doing now. Because you're going to see some people and they died a few years back. And you're like, oh, what happened?
Well,
Like,
Wilford Brimley, the he played Blair, right?
diabetes.
Well, I remembered him, and he was to me was the most, besides Kurt Russell, he was the most recognizable actor that I remembered in it, because I remember him being, wasn't he in the movie Cocoon?
Yep.
And he said, "Blue Steel, a cat couldn't scratch it."
Yeah.
I remember my mother. I don't remember where we were, but they were talking about that movie, and someone had said that line, and my mom just turned red as a bottle of ketchup, uh, because she's surrounded by her 5 daughters at the time when they were talking about it, and I think that really bothered her. But because my mom turned red, that was when I went, I really perked up to see what was going on in the conversation because of the look on my mom's face. So I just remember that. And then I was like, what does that mean, blue steel? I remember. And then she was like, don't ask me any more questions. So, but it was funny. Little things like that help you remember, reactions of your parents.
The music of this movie was done by Ennio Morricone, the same man that was working with Sergio Leone during the Spaghetti Western trilogy
Hmm.
for Clint Eastwood.
That was one thing I really noticed about this movie from the very, very beginning. The music in the different scenes really impacted the movie for me. Just like, I'm always on the whole thing about every movie is the editing mostly. To me, almost every movie that's ruined is ruined because of bad editing, whether it's editing the music or editing the movie together so it's like flows, has a good flow. The only thing I didn't like about the editing in this movie was the scenes where it kind of looked like it was because I watched it off of a DVD, but it ended like when Blair was doing the autopsy on the creature, and he stops and he's like, "Oh my God!" and he's looking at the different parts and he's moving things around and it's all slimy and
That's
really
my favorite
gross.
parts.
But he stops and then it kind of like fades out and he goes to the next scene. I didn't like that. I didn't like the way that they edited that because it looked like it was like made for TV or something to me, the way
See,
they did it.
the edit that I have, I don't know if there's a difference between the two, but I love that because you have Dr. Blair, Wilford Brimley, pulling all the guts out of
Mhm.
the thing. And he's just doing what a rural doctor would do. And he's just messing with this thing. And then he sticks his pencil on it.
Yeah, that was something.
And
Did
then
you
he
notice what he did with
puts
it?
his pencil on his lip. It's like,
Oh,
well,
that was disgusting.
that's
I
where that's
noticed
where
that.
that's where he got it. Ah,
But
that's what,
yeah, that was one thing I wrote down in my notes. I was like, that is just gross. I can't believe he did it. And I don't know if he did it on purpose, you know what I mean? Or if it was just something that he was really intently thinking about for the part and then just did it. Because I do that sometimes. I'll be thinking about something when I'm writing notes or whatever, and I'm sitting there gnawing on my pencil, which you shouldn't do anyways, but I'm really bad about it, chewing on my pens or pencils and stuff. So I was wondering, that made me really think about it, whether he did that on purpose for the part or if it just happened because he was really intently thinking and trying to act like he was explaining about what he thought about this creature or this entity or whatever it was.
and it's interesting because Brimley did grow up on a farm. So I
Mhm.
wonder if he was just hearkening back to his earlier days, before he got into adulthood and started doing the acting. If he was just like remembering all the bits whenever you're butchering something, I was wondering if he actually was doing that from memory, or if that was actually just how the script is set up and he was not ad libbing. But it comes off so natural to me whenever he's doing that. And I think that's probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie where he's being the butcher. Even though he dooms himself, I still think that's probably my favorite scene in the whole film.
Yeah, I thought he did a really, really good job, but he was, to me, was, his character, just for being him, the actor that he was, I wasn't surprised that he did such a good job and very believable as the head doctor that would basically do the investigations if they found anything, or if somebody was to get sick and die or be sick on the compound that he would have to take care of. So you'd know that he's pretty well versed on kidneys, liver, or heart problems and things like that, because he's got to take care of all these people and keep them alive to do their job out in isolation. So I thought he did a tremendous job making you feel that he knew what he was doing. He was very, very intellectual. And when he's sitting there watching the computer, even though the computer looked way outdated, uh, that didn't really even bother me as much as I thought it would, because I could tell it dated the movie, but it still didn't bother me that much because I was so intrigued watching the little cells move across the screen and everything and envelop the other ones, and the intent look on his face while he's watching it, because you could just see that he was really getting that was really bothering him, the stuff that he was figuring out about the entity or whatever it was, and what it was going to do if it ever got out of there or escaped from where they were at. So I thought that was really good. But when they left and they went to the the Norwegian camp, walking around, and the whole thing where Kurt Russell's character kept calling them Swedes, and the other doctor was telling them they're Norwegian over and over. I thought that was made it a little bit more realistic as two people discussing things, because that's what you do. I make mistakes all the time. I'm constantly making mistakes when I'm talking about things, or it doesn't mean I'm not smart. It just means that, when you don't deal with Germans or Sweden and Norwegians and all the different stuff, that you would mix them up. You know what I mean? So that little details like that, it made the banter between the two of them when they were over in the Norwegian camp looking at stuff, and he's grabbing all the documentation, and then Kurt Russell's character found the little video machine and tapes. To me, that seemed very authentic for them actually being there to investigate, what they were doing. Now, the whole aspect that they brought back, the whole thing, the whole whatever it was, by themselves, them two being able to lift it, because it looked big. Did it look big to you?
Huge.
Big enough for two people to pick up and put inside of the helicopter with them?
Depends. It depends.
Because of the angle, it seemed, because I kept trying to turn my head and look at it, it just looked big. It was all like intertwined and mingled. It was disgusting, but it looked realistic. But I don't know if it would have been me. I would have thought they would have cut off a couple pieces so you could take it back and do some tests, because they knew where it is. It's not like they couldn't come back and get it if they find out that they needed it. You know what I mean? So them taking it back with them, now that I was looking at it differently to talk about the movie, I thought that was like a little too much, even though before I didn't think that at all. But oh well.
Happens.
I would have thought they should have just took samples with all the other stuff that they were taking, trying to figure out what happened and why that Norwegian guy flipped his lid and was trying to, because they thought he was shooting at them and at the dog for some reason.
Well, I'm happy that nobody in our audience speaks Norwegian. And I say that because the Norwegian, when he gets out of the helicopter with the rifle, he starts yelling. if you
Mhm.
understand the speak that flops out of his mouth, he just gave you the whole plot to the movie. That
Why? What did he
dog is
say?
what?
What did he say? I didn't. I have Norwegian relatives, but I haven't watched this movie with them, so I would
He
have said,
said
"Hey, what did
that
Jan
dog
tell
is
me what
not
he
a
said?"
dog. That
He said,
dog's not
"What?"
a dog. The dog is not a dog. The dog is a thing, and it's going to kill you all. And that's what he says. He gives him a warning, then he tries killing it, but because nobody understands the damn Norwegians, he ends up getting killed, which is
Yeah,
expected.
and the whole aspect of how you see him take the little grenade thing and pull the pin and throw it, okay, and he misses it and it blows up. And then you see him take another one and he goes to throw it and it slides out of his hand because he's wearing those big gloves.
Yeah.
That was believable. And then it goes down in the snow and the other guy's digging for it. I'm like, what are you doing digging? Jump, run, you know? So that the whole thing, the intense level was very high. I thought for myself, my palms start sweating when I get really nervous and stuff. And I start clenching my hands. That's just a nervous habit, I guess. But that's the kind of thing I do. So I was doing that the whole time for that whole part. About the dog. And then we had like a little bit of a lull there, but I was still weary of the dog. I'm like, you got a helicopter chasing a dog and trying to shoot it, but you just let it wander around. So I don't know. Maybe I'm a little bit more suspicious, but the dog lover didn't care. He didn't seem to be fearful of the dog at all. But it did open suspicion of him, a little bit later in the movie, of the
Yes.
dog lover maybe uh, being turned or whatever. Once we start seeing more and more about the creature, and I thought that was really good.
You're talking about Clark, played by Richard Massar.
Yeah, I forgot to print out my thing with the actors on it, so I'm
It's
sorry.
okay. It's
But
okay. I can tab through them all.
But the part two that really, I mean, gave me, I'm probably going to dream about it tonight after watching this today, or this morning, was the part where they took because I love animals. I'm a huge animal person. So when the dog, oh my God, that dog was so smart. I was just couldn't believe how good. I don't know if it was the same dog, but they had a lot of dogs in it. But the dog that they
I
got
only
to
think they had
run,
one dog.
huh?
I only think they had that one husky.
Well, he was really smart, or she, because when it was running from the helicopter and it ducked and it did, it just turned back and it just was very smart. I thought. Then when he put the dog and he was trying to put it in the kennel with the other dogs, the way it stopped, it was like it knew, even though it was a dog, that if he went in there, the other dogs were going to attack him. And he wasn't going to be able to stay in there because he knew that the other dogs would know he wasn't a dog. So he didn't want to go in, but he knew if he stayed out that the guy would know something was wrong, right?
Yes.
So the intelligence level of the creature, uh, because I knew what was going to happen this time when I watched it, I just thought that the dog did amazing to play that part, to go in and then lay down. But just the way the dog acted, I mean, I just thought it was very creepy, and scary, at the same time, and the music too. So, and the darkness was just enough to where you could see everything. And then the dogs start growling and stuff. And the howling, though, it almost made me start crying when the dogs were howling. I'm going to get emotional right now thinking about it. But the thought of them being, torn to shreds and everything was just really hard to take for me.
I
Sorry.
I love that scene. It's a gory scene.
Yeah,
It's a
it's really
heart-rending
scary.
scene. But you and hello Jedi Bill 797. It's one of those scenes that it sticks with you, and when you see it as a kid,
Very emotional.
it,
Yeah, I
it
wouldn't
yeah
want any
you
child to see that.
yeah like when I saw that I started panicking because I remember telling Tommy what's going on. Tommy's like, it's the thing. Don't you know what the thing is? No. And then the dog's muzzle falls, or the skull, and the skin and fur blossoms out, and
Yeah,
the
and that
dog's skull falls, and you have this.
goo and stuff shoots out, and the all those gross tentacles, like entrails or whatever they were, to come out, and they're all like moving around. And during the whole time it's vibrating, and then these ginormous gross hands with three fingers on it come out. But the whole time when they show that close up of the dog with those entrails all wrapped around it, choking it, and it's shaking. I know it wasn't a real dog, but it's still, I'm going to have nightmares, I think, tonight just from that, because all I could think of was the dog suffering, and it was, fuck them, man. I don't care. The poor dogs. So that's what I was thinking. It was horrid. I mean, it was just so realistic. And the sounds that the dogs are making with the howling and the whining and the barking, and then the other dog chewing through trying to chew through the wire. It was just that whole scene was just so,
it's perfect.
I mean, right now I'm grabbing my hands and, twisting my fingers and stuff. It was very, very intense. I mean, that scene alone to me was just, I mean, it scared the shit out of me.
That's the most
Put it
perfect
that way.
scene for establishing the identity of a nemesis, because
Definitely.
you have the dog in its pen, and everybody thinks things are good. People are starting to relax a little bit. Maybe somebody's gunshot wound in their leg is getting a little bit less tight and not as sore as yesterday. And then you hear something in the damn dogs. What's going on with the dogs? And
Yeah, the dog guy goes out there. But the part where it really made me creeped out, that I knew it was something really bad, was the part where McCready is like doing the, I think what was he playing that game or something?
Chess
Yeah, the chess game. Was that what he was doing when it happened? Or was that earlier? Well, whatever he was in his room, his office or whatever, because his shack was off away from the building. He was in his office, and then you hear the noise, and he jumps up, and you can tell he's scared because he pulls the emergency thing because he knows something's bad is going on, especially after what he just saw at the Norwegian camp. So when they go and they're yelling, get the flamethrower, tell Childs to get the flamethrower, and he's taking forever. And I'm like, come on, hurry. It's killing these dogs. And then when he opened the gate and the two dogs run out and they're yelping, to get away, it was just the whole scene was just, I mean, my heart was just racing. I was like, hurry, do something. Even though I'd seen the movie a couple of times before, I still got that way in this scene because it was so well done. I mean, it's so believable. Even after seeing it like 10 times, I still was, my heart was pounding and my pulse was racing and I was sweating. And all I wanted to do was for them to kill that creature and get it over with. But didn't work out that way. Boy, the intensity built like crazy. I thought it was a really good scene.
Emperor 1B asks, do you think that the killing of the dogs was emotionally manipulative? By the director, a little bit. By the Thing, I don't think the Thing cared.
No, yeah, the creature was just trying, because the dog was him, see? And he knew he was going to be attacked. He would have to defend himself. And his intelligence, because remember, we don't know where this creature came from. All we know is it's intelligent enough to survive. And you'll pretty much do whatever it takes, right? So just like when they were talking about it later on, it took a while for some of the other characters, but Blair figured it out right away because he's super smart, right? That's why he just said he's got to tear up the helicopter, tear up the tractor, and get rid of their communications, stuff. So that there was no way that they could leave, that basically they wouldn't have food, they wouldn't have what they needed. And he wanted to make sure that creature never made it to because what was it? 27. It said, I made a note. It said 27,000 hours for it to take over the Earth population. So
kind of scary.
That's not very long. As fast as it was taking those cells over, and he knew it. So he wasn't really crazy. It's just that he was overwhelmed, knowing he had to do something, because if he didn't stop it, it was gonna take over the world. And that was a very intense scene too, when they had to tackle him in the kitchen because they all thought he just went bonkers, like that one other guy, that the one guy took out in one shot. So I just thought it was really, really intense. The whole thing with the dogs really got me to where I was glued to the TV. You know what I mean? To watch it. Get my stuff back up here. Let's see, where was it? Oh, and another thing I wrote down was the part where you see Windows sitting on the ground against the wall, and he's all bloody. His head's all bloody, right? So
Mhm.
you could tell he got hit over the head. That when Blair went in there, he was like, "Get away from the computer," and he was just starting trashing the place. So other people were screaming, hollering, whatever, trying to do something, but he had a gun. So every time they would try to go in there, Blair would shoot at him. So they knew they had to do something, and that's when McCready had told him, the other guy, to get that table, and for the other guy to go to the other door, try to talk to him to make him not look away. So they were going to try to rush him, and he was a pretty stout guy. I mean, to take on the other guys, but when they were beating him up, and then McCready walks off after the doc was giving him an injection, I guess, and he stands up to walk up, and you see him shaking his hand like that. I don't know how many times in real life I'd seen guys do that after they got in a fist fight at the bar or whatever, bare knuckled. And that made it more realistic to me too. So, when Kurt Russell's character was shaking his hand afterward, like he'd really given him a few good, beatings with
Yes.
his hand, his bare fist. So, just that was very intense to me. That scene, not as intense as the scene with the dogs, but it made the scene more believable, that he was really adamant that he had to fight these people because he was trying to save them. See, none of them realized that until later, that Blair was trying to save everyone, basically, by getting rid of this creature. Not them, because he knew they were all dead. Basically, he knew that they were going to all die, but to let the creature get frozen again, because they just couldn't let it get back to population off of the continent. So I thought that was really intense. And then Windows, he freaks out after that whole incident and starts running down the hallway, and they're yelling Windows, because they know he's freaking out. And so they go and they have to fight him because he's trying to get a weapon to kill everyone, because he doesn't know who the alien is. He doesn't know who the creature is. And so they're all of them. I mean, considering there wasn't a single woman in this movie, okay? And I'm a woman, and I didn't even realize there wasn't a woman in the movie until after, when I'm writing the notes, and I start thinking, there's not a single woman in this movie, but it was damn good. So to me, if you talk to all these people that say they got to have transgender, they got to have a woman in this part, an amputee, you got to have all this different shit to make it good, which is stupid. You have a really, really good story, and you get the right people to play it, whether they're all one race or whether they're all men or whatever. They did a fantastic job in this movie to not have you think about any of that shit. You're just thinking about survival at the grittiest part, down deep, where it's a fight for your life. I just thought it was so good, and they wouldn't make this movie today. They couldn't make it because there's no women in it, and no transgender, no dwarfs, no, cripples, or, there's nothing in it that you see them shoving in our face every day in the movies that they make today. And it was phenomenal. I mean, John Carpenter's view when he reads a script and can put it together in his mind to decide to make this movie. If you just go back and look at his list of movies that he's made, it's his phenomenal mind of being able to visualize something and then want to put it together to where other people can see his vision. I say that a lot, but it's very rare. It really is rare when you look at the millions of movies that have been made, that you get something this good, especially what you said, 81 or 82, with the technology and stuff that he had to work with. I just can't get over how good this movie was. I really, really enjoyed this movie. It was so intense. It was so lifelike. It actually was like almost like you were sitting in the room with all these guys trying to figure out, what the hell are we going to do and how are we going to survive all this? Did you? I'll
I
shut up for a
thought
minute. Let
about
you
that.
talk.
The isolation of this movie is perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it was just so we forgot about the part when they went to they went out to where the ship had crashed and then got to stand there and you get to see the magnitude of how big that ship was, and then them going down and walking around inside of it, trying to figure something out from it. That part was kind of intriguing. They could have made a whole
Whole
uh,
other movie.
whole nother movie about them going back or somebody else coming to Antarctica and finding that ship and just going through it, and maybe there was another couple creatures in there frozen or whatever, because the ship was massive. It was massive, and you only saw little bits of inside the ship. So I just they could have done so much more with that, but it just gave you an idea of how long that has been there, and that supposedly, because you saw the hatch door open on the top when you had the view and you're looking up the hill, where the other guy's still standing up there waiting on them, the two that did go down, and you see the hatch is open. So whatever happened and then it crashed, it crawled out, like maybe it was injured, flew around inside the ship and got hurt or whatever, but then it froze to death because I don't think the environment was too cold for it. And so it got frozen. And until the Norwegians cut it out of the ice to find out what it was. So
Which
that
was
was
kind of interesting because when I saw this movie again in '99, I forgot about the Norwegians.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot about them having a base and such.
Yeah, but it made me think about when they found the other, because at first when I first saw the block of ice that they'd cut it out of at the Norwegian place, I'm thinking, oh my God, they used a hot tub and they covered it with plastic and stuff to make it look like a big block of ice, because that's what it looked like to me, the way that it was sitting there and they were standing around it, the height of it and everything. And I was like, well, that was a really good use of a prop, to make it. But then when they went back out and they were looking at the giant hole in the ice, that they had dug out, I had a totally different view of it. I started thinking of all the documentaries that I had watched where they had found woolly mammoths and some other creatures that were, buried in the ice and dug them out. And and then it made it a little bit more believable to me, because I was like, wow, that is just the thought of what are we digging up? I mean,
Nobody thought about that.
especially now today, after all the stuff that's happened with having to wear masks and all that from a microbe, if you think about it. So this whole entity, just like you said, it one piece of it is alive. Okay. So it only takes that one or two little cells to get on you or in you, and it takes you over, and you're it. You're no longer existing. You are now that creature. Okay. It envelops you cell by cell. So it just was it really creeped me out. I know I'm going to dream about this. I just have a bad feeling. So I'm going to have to make sure I drink a lot so that maybe I don't have a nightmare or whatever. But yeah, it was very, made me think down to that part of it, the cellular structure of something that we've dug up, or something that's came from outer space attached to a satellite that falls back to Earth, or one of the spaceships that comes flying back. We don't know what we're bringing back from other planets. If you pay attention to any of those documentaries, we take so much care of making sure everything is spotless. When they're working on it, everyone has to wear all the special garb, and their shoes are covered. Everything's covered so that you're not bringing anything and adding it to anything, that they're building to put out into space. But they don't do the same thing when it's coming back. We don't think like that, which is kind of scary after watching this again. But let's see. I've already gotten on my notes. I'm already too far forward. So what part do you want to talk about now before, and I'll bring my notes up again when we get to that part.
Yes.
So what part do you want to talk about?
No, I was just going to talk about this is a high water movie whenever it comes to like special effects. Rob Bottin was only like 21 or 22 when this movie got released. And for a lot of the shoot, he was sleeping on set. He was sleeping in the studio where they were filming.
Why do you think he was doing that? Is it because he was homeless or just didn't have a lot of money?
Probably a little bit of both. I can believe the first item more though, that he's saying that he needs somebody, he needs somebody to do this film. And whenever they started discussing things, Bottin had these ideas and he had these storyboards, and he knew that it was going to be hard to fit it in 6 weeks. I believe it was a 6-week shoot schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And Bottin starts drawing it out, and then he just starts sleeping on site. And to the point where Stan Winston the last week gets a phone call, and they're like, "Hey, Stan, Rob Bottin isn't well. We're sending him to the hospital," which he was admitted to the hospital for dehydration. And so Stan Winston's part of the movie is the very end of it, where they actually filmed it in mostly chronological order. When it rises from the wood planks and Kurt Russell chucks a stick of dynamite at it.
Yeah.
That's not Rob Bottin. That's Stan Winston.
Okay.
But Stan Winston, was a mentor, and he gladly, obliged, I'll go to Los Angeles. Sure, I'll do this. And so he did like 2 or 3 days worth of work, but didn't really put his name on the credits. But Bottin was living there on site and working like 18 hours a day to get a shoot or two right. And in a lot of the scenes, when you're looking at it, you just have some of the most amazing visual effects that we've ever committed to film.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen a movie that actually made me wake up so much, because when I was watching it the first time, I was like, I heard the dogs and I thought, what's going on? And so I opened my eyes, I'm on the couch, and I start watching this dog with these tendrils coming out of it. And Tommy's like noticing I'm waking up. He's like, it's getting good, isn't it? And I just start freaking out because I'm like 6 years old, 8 years old at the time. You're not supposed to be watching this movie, Bruce. This is like for adults, not for a young kid like you. And I'm watching it, and that movie just holds you in place. Like, I didn't go to sleep for like the next 6 hours. You watch that movie 2 more times.
Remember if you had nightmares or not after you watched it?
Occasionally I will get nightmares, but not about this movie. There's a video game series called Resident Evil that takes a lot of cues from this movie in Rob Bottin style special effects, where bodies will rip open, split apart, and they do this sort of thing. But it's very graphic, and the sound and ADR is perfectly mixed. And the sound editing in this movie is what really sells it for me.
Well, you know what? I want to interrupt you for a second before I forget my thought. But one thing I would like to find out if later on I'm going to read about it, see if I can look it up. But to me, it seemed like years ago that the director actually would sit down and watch his movie. You know what I mean? After it was finished, after it was put together, and he's went to each of the areas and said this about the music or whatever. He's talking to everybody and putting everything in, and whether he liked it in that scene. This movie to me seemed like he sat and watched this whole movie before he put it out for us to see it, because it was that good. I mean, does that make any sense? Just like I said about Tombstone, it's a gem. You can pluck this movie and this movie out, but there's very few of those that you can put in your little box of movies that hit all the angles and all the marks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For when it comes to the acting, the script writing, the script supervisor, the props, the costumes, the makeup. Even believe it or not, there was a lot of makeup in this. Where the doctor, when the one guy starts to acting like he's having a heart attack.
Mm-hmm.
That actor, when he falls back and and they get him and they take him in there and they put him on the table and the doctor's doing his chest. Well, I guess the creature didn't feel threatened by that, but once he started putting electric shock onto him, the creature was defending itself and bit that poor guy's arms off. That, oh my God, it was, I remember when I saw that and I was screaming. Okay, I
See,
started.
the scene you're talking about where the stomach opens up
Yes, when his chest,
and
the whole chest opens up and
yeah,
his arms get bit off right there at the elbow. Oh my God, it was so intense. And that's what I'm saying. There was so much in it, but leading up to that part, where McCready decided to do the whole thing with the blood, where if the whole entity, was going to uh let's see, this part right here I wrote down. It says the lines that McCready reads to everyone after they left him outside to freeze to death, and he's thawing himself out after he broke his way in through the storeroom. Remember that part
yes,
when Knowles said he cut him loose because he found those clothes stuffed in the furnace, right?
mm-hmm.
So he said, "I know I'm human. If you were all those things, then you would just attack me right now. So some of you are still human. This thing doesn't want to show itself. It wants to hide itself inside an imitation. It will fight if it has to, but it's vulnerable out in the open. If it takes us over, then it has no more enemies, nobody left to kill it. Then it's won. There's a storm hitting us in 6 hours." Sorry, I had to pause it a lot and write all this down. "And we're going to find out who's who." So that whole intense line that he's reading is setting up the scene where they're going to tie everybody up. And then, he injects a couple of the guys in the two in the chairs, and then the 3 guys on the couch. Those 3 guys on the couch, that whole scene on that couch made your skin crawl. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
The whole it was almost like watching, the intensity of it was almost like watching 12 Angry Men that my dad made me watch. Well, I'm glad he did, but it was not a movie that I would ever have picked off the shelf, to watch. But the intensity of it, you know what I mean? Of the arguments, the different personalities coming out in their point of view of what's going on. It's the same thing in this whole thing, because since the very beginning of the movie, you could tell that Childs didn't really get along with anyone. You know what I mean? Because he was a badass. He was like, he didn't want to put up with anybody's shit. He said, "Fuck everyone. I hate everybody. Leave me alone and let me do my job." It was like he maybe was an ex-con, or we don't know. You didn't really know that much about where these people came from. We just know that they're all doing this job, which probably paid shit, not very much, but they did it simply because they liked, when they were actually doing the job, they actually liked it. Like McCready being a helicopter pilot and the other guy being a pilot, and the doctors and the science and stuff behind it. You just have to be the right kind of person to have that kind of position, right? So them 3 sitting on the couch, they all had their reasons why they were there, and then they all had their reasons why they didn't trust each other. And on top of that, now each of them are potentially the enemy, wanting to kill you and become you. You know what I mean? So the intensity of all that whole scene was just through the roof. And I guarantee, I don't care what guy you are, you're sitting in there watching that movie and you haven't seen it before, and that he takes that hot wire and sticks it in there and that little thing jumps out. I guarantee everybody about peed their pants.
That blood prank is so good.
It was so intense, though. The everything about it was so well written and so well acted, and the hands on by the director, walking around the room. Okay, I've been in places like that. So when you see him walking around and he's looking, he's trying to get a visual aid of what is going to be in the scene, not just what he's seeing through the lens. He's trying to visualize the whole room, because you see the camera a lot move across the room to different people's faces. So what you're seeing is you're seeing the camera moving from one face to the next while he's talking, when he's saying what I just read.
Mhm.
So you're seeing them all listening to him intently, knowing that he's right. Even though this sucks, we're all tied up, or being drugged or whatever it is, they're realizing that this is the only way that we're going to find out who's who. You know what I mean? So that whole thing, it just had my heart just beating out of my chest. I mean, it was just so intense and scary. This to me is the best sci-fi horror movie ever made to me. That's how I see it. And that's how I've seen it ever since I first saw it. And I love sci-fi and I love horror. So to me, I mean, I love Alien. I thought Alien was really good, but I still think this movie is my very favorite of all time for Alien sci-fi horror. But that whole leading up to that whole scene was just so intense. I mean, to me, from the dogs on, it to me, it never really ever dropped you down.
It doesn't let up too much.
Yeah, it's like a roller coaster ride the whole way through. Yeah, this scene, was so creepy. They did
They
a pretty good job.
they did a great job.
Yeah,
The actor's face for Charles Hallahan, that man that's like right here, I believe
yep,
he's underneath the table. This right here is the actor that's playing the first aid guy.
yeah,
However, when the camera is under the table looking up at him as he's holding his arms above his head, they've got a double amputee with a mold of the mask of the guy's face twisted and over like, ah! And the blood spewing everywhere.
yeah.
But they're using a double amputee for that scene because that's how you do it. That's how you do horror and quick cuts and good edits. And right here, this is the actor that was mostly used for the movie, but they have the next cut is a double amputee when that guy is showing you that, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful set.
Yeah, I had a friend that was he was missing his one leg from right
Mhm.
below the knee, and he would get to be on lots of different sets simply because he's missing a leg, and they used him for all different parts, like after a car wreck or in a war scene or whatever, and he had the bone hanging out and stuff like that, and he just loved it, and that's it, and that's how he paid his bills. He
Absolutely.
lost his leg in a motorcycle accident, and he used it. But after that, he got one part, and I think it was on a soap opera or something. I don't remember exactly. But after that, that's all he did. And he made it pretty good money doing it. And I just think that's great to actually use a real person. And that's why it was so funny that when they started coming out with all this new woke stuff or whatever, saying that we can only use a person that's this, that, or the other for these parts. And I'm like, they were already doing that shit. You know what I mean? So them acting like it was something new to me, it's just annoying. I just wish that they'd stop putting so much bullshit and trying to force it on people when they were already doing it. I mean, a person that's setting up to do a movie is trying to fit as much in it as they can with their budget. And they
Yep.
love to do that. And it's fun and exciting to be able to come up with ways to, yeah, that dog was phenomenon.
This dog was
He was
in three
awesome.
big ass movies that I know of. He was in
Wonderful dog.
The Thing. Then he played in The Journey of Natty Gann, which I really enjoyed. When you're 10 years old, you kind of like tomboy chicks. You like Joe on Facts of Life. Natty Gann was pretty hot. And then he was in White Fang in 1991. He also was in The Dead Kennedys, the early years. But he died in June of 95. At the same time I was wrapping up things in Spain, getting ready to come back to America. He was passing on to the next life. What a good boy. The bestest boy.
Well, they did a great job with that dog. And dogs are so smart. I mean, people just don't realize how smart they are. Unless you have a dog. You have a dog, you realize, wow, I mean, I'm lucky to have this dog as my pet, as my companion.
But Jed was probably the best dog actor I know of, and mainly for the fact that there's a scene in this movie where he's walking through before the dogs scene happens, and he's just looking at all the rooms, and then he makes his way to the room where Callahan's at, or whatever that guy's name is.
Which
And
character?
the guy that has his chest cavity open up
Yeah.
and then chews the arms off, that guy. He goes in that room with him, and it looks like his hair on the silhouette on the shadow of the wall.
See, I thought it was windows.
Nope.
When you see somebody turn, it looked to me like the shadow looked like windows.
No.
So, but the part where the thing rises up out of his chest and it's got his head on it and it's got that gross neck and it's all, his teeth are all, it was gnarly and then the head falls off and gets legs and starts to crawl off. That part where the tall, skinny guy that was already an alien had transformed, said, "You got to be effing kidding me." When he said that, it threw you off because you weren't expecting him to be a creature. You know
and
what
that
I mean?
part, that line right there never fails to make Kurt Russell laugh. That's the line.
That's another thing it reminded me of. The whole scene where McCready comes in and he's saying those lines before he's going to start testing everybody's blood. That whole thing, watching him, you know what popped in my head was his son in the movie, the movie he just did. What was it called? Overlord. His son kept popping in my head because I guess they were right about the same age, right?
Yeah.
When Kurt Russell made this movie and his son made the other movie,
Kurt Russell was 31.
It's amazing how much his son looks like him.
Kurt Russell was 30 or 31 when he made this movie.
But yeah, he was his son looks so much like him and Goldie Hawn's son. So that's what popped in my head. I was like, oh my gosh, his son looks so much like him, because that scene made me think of his son in Overlord, because I liked Overlord. I thought it was pretty good.
I kind of like Overlord, but it's not the fact that they're attacking zombies that I have a problem with. It's a lot of little things that don't really matter in that movie. Like there wouldn't be a black paratrooper in World War II. He would be a cook. He'd be a. That's
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying about this movie. It has blacks in it and it has whites in it, and all men. There's no women. There's no transgender.
Well, Adrienne Barbeau plays the chess master girl.
Well, that's a voice on a computer. I'm talking about a character. But the thing is that there wasn't anything woke in this movie, and it was phenomenal, you know. Yeah. And that movie that you're talking about did have a lot of woke in it, and that was the only thing I found wrong with it.
Which
that
is
made
why
the movie not as good as it could have been, because they had to put shit in it that made it stupid.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, look at that creation. Oh, hideous. Gross.
Do that with a few pieces of chicken and some staples, and there you go.
Oh my God, it's just.
This is my favorite scene for makeup in this movie. This right here is a good prop. This is just
it's amazing.
Where did we get this from? The Norwegian base. See, I don't think Windows is in the room with Jed. Jed passes on to that guy right there. No, not that guy. My bad. Although he's one of the first that gets turned.
Well, that guy died. Remember, he got shot in the head. He was clean when they did his blood. He wasn't turned at all.
This guy here?
Yeah, remember?
Oh,
he tries to take McCready down, and he shoots him in the head. And when they do his blood, he says, "See, you're a murderer. You killed an innocent man." Remember that line now? Yep.
I remember that.
So I think the dog didn't transform him because he knew that he was an advocate for the dogs. because he had intelligence, even
Yeah.
though it was a blobby, micro, sickening, whatever. It could be anything, but it learned. It learned and knew that guy was there for them, that would take care of them. So I don't think I think that's why he didn't kill him or
Sort
try
of
to become him.
Huber says, "Oh, this is making me hungry." Man after my own heart, let me tell you. Old Jed again. This guy is the one that he walks into the room with, and I'm pretty certain this is one of the first ones that dog turns.
That guy in the background right there,
Middle or on left?
in the very, very back.
That
Very
one?
back. Yeah. That guy, every time I saw him in this movie, I kept thinking of the actor in the movie that was in Doom that played the real asshole, tall, lanky guy that gets
Doom
killed in the
with
bathroom.
The Rock Johnson?
Not The Rock, but he was one of the creepy guys that was on The Rock's team.
Okay.
It was like the thug criminal. I can't remember the name of the actor, but every time I saw him, that's who I was thinking of. And I know that they're not the same person, but
no,
that's who it reminded me of. But yeah, that's the part where I said I felt sorry for him because he got the crap beat up by Blair.
Well, Blair was an unrequited badass. I don't give a shit what anybody says.
Yeah, he was super smart, and he was ready to go in there and take out anyone he had to get rid of that stuff because he did not want that creature to get out.
Here's
Yeah,
another
look at the hands on that guy. Ugh, disgusting.
Janet, can you get some hands like that? You got the little Deadpool hands.
No, I don't have anything that looks like that. That's disgusting. I mean, that looks like, if you look at it right now, it almost looks like Alaskan king crab legs, doesn't it? The little ones with the spikes on them.
I bet you Snortopoopas is like, oh my god, king crab. I could definitely go for some king crab and butter right now.
I love king crab, but man, where I'm at right now, I can't get that good stuff. I can't even buy alcohol.
We're gonna have to set up like a
that guy right
box.
here.
Yep.
That actor, was he in God, I'm trying to think, some movies with I can't remember the names of the guys now. Remember Close Encounters or E.T.? Was he in either one of those?
Okay, real quick. This movie opened on the same day as Blade Runner in 82. Mm-hmm. Now, a couple of weeks later, I believe, is when E.T. came out and destroyed both of these movies from having any chance at the box office.
Yeah, E.T. was a kick-ass movie.
Alien Hunter. That's not a good movie.
But it wasn't a horror movie.
No.
It was a family movie.
It showed you that Dee Wallace is a bitch. She got so pissed off because the camera's lingering on these kids too much. This is my only movie to look like an actual actress. Come on. He was in Touched by an Angel, the Deidre Hall story. Mm-hmm. And he was in, oh boy, hey guys, remember Wing Commander 4, The Price of Freedom? I wish I didn't. I remember that. I remember that game series too much.
I'm trying to look at it. I think I remember him being on Roseanne, maybe. I'm trying to look at that list. I'm just having a hard time because I didn't watch a lot of that stuff.
He did Wes Davidson on Home Improvement. He played in Doogie.
So he did a lot of TV, it looks like.
Lots of TV.
Yeah. But he was good. He was very believable. Like when he was trying to talk to him about, only eat from cans, that, something's going on with Blair, all that stuff. So he was a pretty good actor, though, in this movie. I thought believable for his character. I thought everybody did good. I mean, I thought everybody was believable for their parts.
I ate the bugs recently, but there are something eaten by natives for a long time. The bugs are filled with protein.
But I forgot to talk about this part was when he was doing the blood, when he was doing the little Petri dish thing.
Yep. The
And he
part
said,
that
"We're
sold
going to
John
draw a little
Carpenter.
bit of blood from everybody's, everybody's bodies or whatever." It says, "We're going to find out who's the thing." That was the only part that I remember in the movie that they actually said that. And he said, watching Norris in there gave me the idea that maybe every part of him, uh, hold on, where was I? Was a whole. Every part of him was a whole.
Yeah, every
And then
cell is its
as the
own
camera
thing.
panned across everybody's faces, like I was talking about earlier, it says every little piece was an individual animal with the built-in desire to protect its own life. You see, when a man bleeds, it's just tissue, but the blood from one of these things won't obey when it's attacked. It will try and survive, crawl away from a hot needle, so to say. So, it was so intense to me. I just really, really thought they did such a good job at the amping up of your blood pressure during these parts, waiting to find out. So when that thing did jump out, everybody went crazy. It was like everybody screaming and hollering, and it was just, God, it would have been
Yeah.
awesome to have been on set with them while they were doing something like that.
This movie scared the hell out of me when I was a kid.
Yeah, it was scary. I mean, I can't believe that you were able to watch this movie as a little kid. It's horrible. But the part though that I really liked too, that made him stand out, the gentleman with the gun, the pistol, what was his
David
name?
Moffat. That little pop gun?
Yeah, the one with the
Yeah.
pistol. That actor, was he British or something?
Donald Moffat? No, I don't think he was British. He actually he was born in the UK. Oh wow, he played on
Australian?
he was a Shakespearean stage actor with the Old Vic. And in 54 he was managing a popular review Salad Days. But he got
But
upset. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'll let you finish that.
He got upset in the 50s, and he was kind of upset that he was being typecast as a certain thing, and he didn't want to just be known as an actor, and he wanted to do more. And so he relocated to the United States, and he accompanied an American actress wife to her home state in Oregon. He tried his hand at bartending and as a lumberjack. And after 6 months, he concluded he was not cut out for outdoorsy pursuits. And he went back to his original muse, and he had a motivating stimuli, as he would later explain, that America seemed much more theatrically vibrant than the things were at home. Now, back in 1957, he was with a group of people in Princeton. He had a meager income, or he talks about his in Princeton. He had a meager income of $25 a week, but he did a 1957 debut on Broadway in Under Milkwood. And so after that, he didn't have to worry about paying bills. He did things from O'Neill and Chekhov to Ibsen and Miller. And along the way, he included the Ohio Shakespeare Festival in Akron, Ohio, as well as theaters in New York, where he made himself very memorable Falstaff in 1987. He went to Cincinnati, Chicago, and Los Angeles. And in the early 60s, Donald Moffat enjoyed a lengthy tenure as a member of the Ensemble of Association of Producing Artists for the Phoenix Repertory Company. He lost his British accent very early and excelled at slotting himself into diverse spots totally believable to the Americans, be they dignified, self-effacing, doleful, tough, or acerbic. He was in keeping with his work credo: respect the text, you'll fit the part, not the other way around.
Well, I thought he was really good. I thought he was very believable as a stuffed shirt stuck out in the middle of nowhere, basically. And after that, all of that shit hit the fan, and he's tied to the couch, right? And his line was, "I know you gentlemen have been through a lot, but when you can find the time," you remember this line?
Mm-hmm.
He said, "I'd rather not spend the rest of this winter tied to this fucking couch." Like
Yes.
that. And I almost started applauding because he handled the whole thing so well. It almost looked like he was near tears, from fright, basically, after what just all happened and unfolded around him on that couch. So I just thought that line was just that's one of my favorite lines in this movie, that whole part, and him finally getting to yell and cuss. Because you remember, almost through the whole thing, he barely raises his voice or yells or anything. And he pulls the pistol out calmly and shoots that guy in the eye.
Yep.
You know, everything's very calm, and that's his character. He's very methodical. You know, he's thinking ahead about everything and thinking about his next action. And then this scene, he gets to actually have it all to himself because nobody else is talking, and he gets to have, you know, the stage or whatever to himself. And it's a very good, intense scene. And, you know, and I'm happy that he finally gets loose and they know he's not a creature. So I just thought that was really good.
He played 2 presidents during his time. He was Lyndon Johnson in The Right Stuff.
Oh, I remember that. That
I've
was a
got
really good movie
I've
too.
got some funny shit to talk about Lyndon B. Johnson one of these days. Oh, you guys are gonna hate me, and so will YouTube. We'll have to do that on Rumble. And then he also played the president in Clear and Present Danger, opposite of Harrison Ford.
Mm-hmm.
Donald Moffat, you retired in 2005, and complications of a stroke in 2018 laid you to rest. Sir, we salute you. You are definitely one of the better men to cross my screens, and I thank you for your work.
He's a very good actor. Just like the other guy that I really love, that was in that British actor that was in Harry Potter, and he was in that Alien movie that I picked. What was the name of that one with Sigourney Weaver? Oh, can't remember right now.
Galaxy Quest?
Yeah, Galaxy Quest. The actor that was in Galaxy Quest, I love that movie. Oh, they were so good, and everybody, I loved it. I know it wasn't the best movie ever, but I just thought everyone was phenomenal in that movie. And that one actor that was in Harry Potter, to get to see him as in a comedic role, and he was still playing like he wasn't a comic. You know what I mean? Oh, he was just phenomenal. And he's dead too, isn't he? Didn't he die?
Yes. Alan Rickman has died.
Yeah, Alan Rickman. Oh,
I love that man.
He was such a good actor. Every single thing, even when he played the badass in a Die Hard movie, I loved him. I just thought he was so good. He was so talented. You could tell he just loved what he did, and how lucky he was to be able to love his job. I mean, so many people don't get that choice. They go to work and all they want to do is be at home or be somewhere else. So that was nice about that. But yeah, then you get to the part where they go out and they find out that Blair is no longer in the little shed, the tool shed anymore.
Yeah.
And that was, and then they go underground and find out that he's been real busy since he was out there. And that showed you the intensity of how smart he was. Now, first, before they said anything, I thought maybe he was trying to build something to get away or whatever. But then when I saw that it looked like a little ship, then I knew he was a creature. So I was hoping he wasn't, because I liked his character. But he was out there by himself for so long. It was, you know, there was no way he wasn't going to get taken over.
Snortopupus remembers LBJ accurately. There's a book called LBJ Follies, and I believe if you are of the mindset to where you would appreciate it, you'll get a refresher on all the shitty things that LBJ did for the country. Okay. I'm not trying to turn this into political talk. Oh, yeah, let's talk. No. The thing.
So what other scene do you want to talk about, since we're to that part?
I'm actually enjoying tabbing through just the photos on IMDb and discussing the various things that are going on here. Kurt here's, just chilling out right around the same scene. Looks like right around the same time where they're getting ready to film the dogs.
Yeah. That's where the dogs were pinned up. They burned it. That was right after they burned the whole thing.
Get rid of that. There's Jed. And
look how beautiful. Look at the scenery out there. Where did they film this?
I want to say British Columbia.
It's beautiful. I mean, I love snow though. I mean, I don't like being cold, but I love people say snow doesn't smell, but I don't know what it is. But every time it snows, I just want to go out and walk in it and hear it crunching under my boots, and uh, having a snuggly warm scarf around my neck and being able to feel the cold air on my face. But it just seems so clean, and I
Uh,
don't know. I can't explain it. I just love it. I miss snow.
I don't.
I
You can wax nostalgic about it as much as you want, but I'm so happy to sweat in the month of November and December and January because I might work too hard outside as I wear my shorts and my sandals. I'm good. I'm good.
Well, if I ever get to move somewhere, if I could live in Reno, somewhere where it snows and it's a desert, I would live there right now. That's where I'd move to.
The only place where you would find me where it might have snow would be a dockside bar somewhere in Alaska. And I would have nothing more to do during the day than drink a good lager, go downstairs, hit on a girl that's 1/4 of my age, and then come up with a full liter of alcohol and get to my computer and start writing like some crappy 60 minutes journalist. That would be the life. I got no other thing to do but just submit this to the New York Times, and they're going to pay me because they suck.
Oh, so now I recognize that picture, that head. It's got dog's teeth.
Yes.
That looks like the dog's
Yeah, they've
teeth
got the
and a
dog
human head
meshed in
around it.
there. I love this.
Oh, that is so nightmarish.
This is
Oh,
this is what the thing is. I mean, it just kind of pulls things from here and there, and
yeah, it's all different. See, that's what I'm saying. Um, when they first brought the creature from from the other place, it looked a little different because I guess whatever it had taken before it came to our planet, it still had a little bit aspects of that in it still. But to think about it being you know, because the more I think about it, the ending of this movie made you realize that humankind finally meets its end, and it will be from a microbe. You know what I mean? We're not going to die because of a war, or a nuclear bomb. Is it going to be what takes everyone out? It's going to end up being something like that. It's going to end up being something, a virus or something like that. I really do believe that that's what's going to end us. It's going to be some kind of, something tiny, just like in that movie with Mel Gibson, and
yeah.
you know, the whole thing was water is what killed or hurt those creatures that came to the planet. I mean, something simple. Yeah. So it's like something simple like that is what's gonna be our downfall. Something's gonna get in our water or just infect everyone. I mean, if you look around, there's only a few creatures that could go through nuclear winter and still live, and one of them is a cockroach. So they're the ones that are going to rule this planet one day. Not going to be us.
This movie, Six Nations, 31 Kings, put up a really interesting thought about this movie to where, like, what if this movie's an allegory for AIDS?
It could be. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Just like when I first got you to watch Lars and the Real Girl, you laughed through the whole first part of the movie. And see, I didn't even see it the way you looked at it. From the moment I first saw the very first scene in that movie, the very first time I watched it, I felt the movie was based on mental illness, but you didn't. So the more I watched this movie, the whole thing was we're taken down by something that we cannot stop, which is a microbe, a cell, a tiny little something that you can't even see. And it's already done it. I mean, like the Spanish influenza and different things like that.
That was a real virus.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Little
well,
things like that is what kills millions and millions of people. And then you got the oh, that scene was disgusting too. Oh
that's
God.
Blair going to work on Gary, just giving him what for.
I really felt bad for Gary on that scene. But look how realistic that looks. That is just gross.
That right there is what we call a scrum. There's a fight going on right there. Those men are in it for the end.
Yeah.
Gary didn't realize it when he started this fight, but now he does. Now he gets it.
What's that? That James L said something. I can see it on this comments over here.
Okay.
What is that? What is he saying? I can't read it on my phone.
All right. But going to the shop asking for, the thing, it gets you nowhere.
Oh, is that what the president's always saying? Is that what he's making fun of?
The thing.
Sorry.
That guy. Nobody has the. I guess we are so scared of what Kamala Harris would do with the national holiday system and wine being forced to be at like a discount. I guess we are so scared of her as president. That's why he's still alive.
Just think about it, though. If she becomes president, then knee pads will be half price.
We could have sex with China and finally get the dick. And we could put it on the hub.
Just saying.
Yeah.
She's willing to get on her knees and do her job. Biden isn't.
That's exactly what she did. Both of these two. Back at politics. Sorry, kids.
Okay.
Reload.
But yeah, it's the part where they're getting ready to take out the creature because they decided what's so funny.
James L says, I'm not very handy. I don't have an orbital sander in my garage to deal with the corns and bunions on Brie Larson's feet.
Yeah, she does have some big feet.
Oh my God. I just saw them because I just was like, fine, whatever. And so I went to Wiki Feet. There's a site, a wiki for celebrities and famous feats.
I know. I told you I've had people trying to get me to put my feet on and start an OnlyFans using my feet and put them in Jello and do all that. And I put a couple pictures on Twitter with is that Skeletor?
Skeletor.
Yeah.
If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. Janet, I need you to dress up like Eva Lynn, and we can do feet pics, and then you will sell them, and you will make your fat ducats.
Oh my God. But it's sad. People can make a living off their feet.
Yeah.
I might end up having to do that, depending on what my future is by the end of the beginning of next year.
Well,
I have to have an OnlyFans.
I respect you too much to have what just happened in my head come out my mouth. We're not going there.
Oh.
6 Nation 31 Kings, thank you, sir. Snorter Pooch is like, it's true, Kamala sucks. And everybody's like, no, really, Brie has nasty feet.
Yeah, I didn't even realize how big her feet was. I think it was Friday Night Tights. They were showing pictures of her feet, and I was shocked. I thought they were joking. I thought they were kidding and making it someone else's feet until they showed the whole picture, and I was like, that really is her feet. They're huge. She has humongous feet, like a basketball player or something.
That's like, oh, they look disgusting.
Well, the rest of her looks good, so it makes up for it.
That's debatable. She does look good when she's quiet and she's in the background. She's not the main girl.
Men always say that. If they could put duct tape on every woman's mouth, they'd all be happy and think the world's wonderful.
Janet, if this ever comes to where there's money in this position, I will be paying you to talk. Okay? I'm just going to say that.
As long as you write everything down, because half the time I have no idea what I'm supposed to say.
Very good. You do really good here.
Well,
I
thank
think
you.
I think 2/3 of my subscribers are coming from you now.
I just try to be honest, and write down what I see, and talk about what I think about whatever it is we're talking about. That's it. That's all I'm doing. So
That's fine.
but now where were we at? We were at the part where they're in the cave area. Wasn't that the underground thing from?
Yeah, those the underground, and I don't understand how you could build a UFO out of helicopter parts from the
Well,
Swedes.
from what you could tell, though, it wasn't just that. Remember, they said they went to what was it called, an excavator or a tractor or something.
They had a snow mover basically, and so he broke that.
But there wasn't just that. You got to remember, if you looked around when you did a couple of the other things, there was like a thing with the bucket in it that would dig down in.
Mm-hmm.
You had that. Then you had the big thing with the plow thing on the front.
Yeah,
there was 3 or 4 different big equipment things that were out there, and then you had the satellite dishes, and there was other things, because I was looking around trying to figure out where he would get that kind of stuff to put it together. Plus, inside the thing, they had all those tools, acetylene torches. I mean, there was tons of stuff, and plus, he was in the tool shed.
Yeah.
Right. So he had access to pretty much anything he needed to build something, and he was out there a long time, apparently. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
I love those hands.
I don't know, though. I can't remember. Was people taking him food and stuff out there, or was there already food out? Because I remember
Kurt Russell took him food, I think.
I remember when he pulled the little thing over on the door, and you could see through the door hole. See, that's another thing. The camera angles that Carpenter used to make this movie and put it together was just totally unique, I think, because I don't remember seeing another movie with the height of the camera being so low, and it was kind of looking up a lot. And like this scene where it's a wide angle, you see that a lot in lots of different.
Great matte painting, by the way.
Yeah, but it's beautiful, isn't it? But see how that over in the distance when they're looking, see the hatch is open on the top, and when they were down there by that hatch, and you're looking up and you see the other guy, you could tell that for that giant ship, it had a blobby whatever. We don't know what the creature looked like in its true form. All we know is the gross, juicy, nasty stuff that's flowing off of each of the dead, burnt.
Still hungry.
Mm.
Oh, and I get this photo. Awesome.
You know what that one reminded me of when I saw it? There was a movie that was really scary. And it was really corny, and it was like a real BF rate movie. It was called Funhouse. Did you ever see that?
No, I'm going to look at it now, though.
That's what that creature face right there reminds me of some things that were in that scary movie. I can't remember.
Now, the scene you like so much where Kurt Russell's got the Petri dish, when they're showing that scene, that script part to Carpenter, somebody had this idea where they're taking the old thing and they're doing that, and they changed it a little bit to reflect the novella who goes there.
Yeah.
And that was the scene that John Carpenter was like, we got to do it. We have to make this movie. This is the movie I want to make. And that would be, for I think anybody that has a pulse, that would be it. I also really like this scene because the cold looks so fucking convincing on Russell.
Yeah, and the fact that he's using the heat from the blowtorch, or what is that called?
Acetylene torch.
No, it was giant. A flamethrower.
Oh, the flamethrower.
That one flamethrower, and he's warming his fingers and stuff from being out there, because they said he was out there for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a long time, and it's freaking freezing out there.
Now, granted, that magnificent beard he's got took him a year to grow.
Well,
he was doing.
Not many men can grow a good beard like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So many men I've met, they can grow a goatee and a good mustache, but they have giant areas on their cheeks that won't grow hair. So they usually don't have a full beard. And
I
then some guys have it that seems like it almost goes all the way up to their eyes, which I don't like. I mean, I'm not really into beards. Um, I mean, some mustaches look good on some guys, and I definitely am not one of those women that are into guys with those sideburns that come down like mutton chops or whatever. Yuck. There's nothing for me.
Well, I don't
So,
shave for a weekend. I start looking pretty scraggly, and you can see like I could get a beard easy.
I mean,
It's
women have, we like this part of my leg, I had to shave, but
uh
the thigh part, I don't have to shave because I never shaved my thighs. My mother told me the very first time when she was teaching me to shave, she said, "Don't shave your thighs." And I'm like, "Why?" Like that, because I thought it would be hairy. And she said, "No, if you don't shave your thighs over time, it'll stay soft and it won't be hard and coarse. But if you shave, it's going to get thicker and coarse." And I don't shave my thighs, and I think they look pretty good.
James L says Skeletor goes dancing at the tool shed every Saturday night. I feel kind of personally followed.
Well,
I've seen some girls with big feet and they take care of them and they still look good, but Bree's feet, they're just nauseating.
well, I don't know if there's any kind of surgery you can have for your feet.
I don't know. She should just wear shoes.
What I don't understand that either. Can you explain it to me?
We're good.
Okay. I'm trying to read these as fast as I can.
Sorna Pupus is a missing link. He's just a polar bear. And then we're talking about misinformation, and that will be $2,500 if PayPal gets their way and we have a centralized currency.
Yeah, I heard that a lot of these other platforms are going to start doing that.
Yep, and you're going to see a lot of people leaving them.
Yeah, this is going to be one of them.
Hibernation.
So we're going to have a good time until we can't anymore.
I've got a spot on Rumble. I've got a spot on Odyssey. That's all I care about.
Yeah, I've downloaded both of those. I just don't know how to do anything.
Show you on Rumble one of these days. Janet wouldn't like me. I'm basically a large beard from snoot to tail.
Yeah, but you're cute. You got a cute. I bet your nose is cold too.
We need to conduct research on Janet's thighs. The chat agrees. This requires science. Cal.
Well, I mean, it's just something you can look up. I guarantee that most women don't shave their thighs. I mean, none of my sisters do. That's 5 women right there that don't shave their thighs.
For those of you that are wanting to have a conservative-minded woman in their life, I recommend you go to Arkansas and stay out of the big towns, all 2 of them.
There's more than 2.
Little
But
Rock
where I'm
and
at right now, it's dry. There's no alcohol here. I have to drive 45 miles to buy wine.
that pisses me off right there.
But I did buy me a jar of what pisses you off?
No, the paychecks are going to have an expiration date. So your social credit's going to be, you have to burn it.
Yeah. They want you to. You're not going to be able. They don't want you to save any money.
No.
They want you to have nothing. That's why you have to have a map and bury all your treasures.
Cal, think about it.
What are you talking about now?
Oh no. Cal was asking if you were a MILF. And I'm like, think about it, Cal.
Yes,
Yeah.
I have kids. You're gonna have to show me how to do the thing where on the side so that I can type and read it at the same time. Right now, what we're looking at, I just learned, what was it, like 4 live streams ago that I could even read private chat. I didn't even
It's all
know
right.
how to do that. Now we learned that because of Dungeons and Dragons. So I'm learning, but I have to get on here and do this stuff. And I wish I had, a way to let me sharing my screen with you or what was his name?
Garrett?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah,
I can't
Garrett
remember.
P-Rock?
Yes, when I shared my screen and he was showing me how to use my own computer. It's pretty stupid. Oh, it sucks.
You've got a
But
rocket.
I really am trying.
Good wine in Australia, Janet.
I wanted to come to Australia so bad, but then after I saw the government chasing their people around, like trying to herd cattle, I was like, maybe I shouldn't go to Australia. They don't deserve my tax dollars. You know what I mean?
Cal,
And-
you need to move outside of California, but you could drive back in to grab the wine and leave.
Mhm.
Just a thought. He's like, I live in Wine County in California. I mean, in wine country, that if that doesn't draw her in,
But think about this. I drive from a place where I can call, have pizza delivered, chicken, whatever I want to eat, right? And then I can drive to a drive-through and buy daiquiris. And now where I'm at right now, I can't even have pizza delivered. There's nothing there. I'm surrounded by nothingness.
you have wilderness, you have nature. Why would you want anything else?
Uh,
I know.
it just takes something to get used to it.
Kurt Russell and that hair of his.
He's very attractive guy, and I don't usually like guys with long hair and stuff, but I think he's attractive, very rugged and masculine. I mean, he looks like somebody I just want to go over and hug him and give him a big sniff.
Wow.
I know that sounds kind of gross, but I don't know. Maybe it's because it's just been a long time, but I bet he smells really good.
One of my favorite scenes. Everybody's backing off, and there's Gary. I'm ready for business.
Getting to use his pop gun.
He gives the entire plot of the movie right there in minute 3.
I wish I could understand what he said.
If you understood Norwegian, you'd know.
Yeah, but if I would have known that, I would have put the app on my phone and had it up there while he was saying his lines, and I could have known it from the very beginning.
The tension between Mac and
Childs.
Mac and Childs is just crazy.
Yeah, but see, that's the scene, isn't it, where the dog guy's about to go after him?
Yep, because you see the knife right there.
Yeah, he's got that little knife. He's always playing with it and stuff. But the thing is, that's when he shoots him in the head, and then they do his blood and find out that
he actually was not.
He was just a human. He was just trying to
protect the dogs,
protect everybody, basically.
Yeah. He didn't realize the danger at hand.
Well, he wasn't thinking about it, that's what I'm saying. That they did really good about letting each person involved in this movie portray their different personalities, and that the different personalities didn't mix with all of the people. Like you could see that there was like McCready and Fuchs' character. They got along really well. I mean, they intermingled before too much intensity happened. They were able to communicate with each other and understand and listen to each other and be themselves. At least that's like when they're in the helicopter and they're out there talking about what he's worried about, what the research that he got. And you could tell they at least in that scene, it seemed like they were friends, that they actually had interaction before all this stuff started happening, to where they actually talked about important things and things that weren't important, just interacted with each other. Now, some of the other characters, you could tell that at least it seemed like that they didn't like each other. And then there were other ones that did like each other, and they would defend each other to other people. You know what I'm saying? So they had camaraderie with some and then not with others. So
Well,
that made it believable to me.
the one thing I noticed is that Windows is the omega of this wolf pack.
Mm-hmm.
And that came about kind of organically just on set because Windows was thinking that he was turning into an actor. He was going to be bigger time than what he was.
Yeah.
And he had just done The Warriors a few years ago, and he's feeling like this movie is going to be big, and he's going to get some star power and recognition from it. And he kind of acted like a dick to the on-site director and second assistant director. He was a dick. And so the director pretty much like said, these lines are no longer his. And so like half of his lines got wiped out and dispersed among the other guys. And so he's just in the scenes in this movie up until the point where he has his demise, and that's it. But he only says like maybe 12 or 13 lines all together.
Yeah,
He doesn't say much.
I've seen that happen on one set I was on. I remember there was two different actors and they kept arguing with each other during the scene. I mean, it had nothing to do with the lines they were supposed to say because it wasn't even their turn to speak, but they would argue and push each other and stuff. You know, it was like a male rivalry or something. And the director said, you aren't going to do what I say, well, then fine. And then he made both of them leave. And then he brought two extras up and he said, here, can you say this? And he gave the line to two extras to say. And then they had to fill out paperwork because they had to have SAG. They had to be SAG actors. So they had to pay the money and fill out the paperwork to be SAG so they could have the lines. So the director was mad enough at these two actors. I can't remember both of them's name. I'm really bad, but if I saw their face, I could point them out. But it was just funny to be standing around. I wasn't standing on that TV show, but it's just funny because the director really is king. I mean,
Yes.
Whatever the director says is what everyone does, and it doesn't matter whether, I don't care who you are. You could be the number one biggest actor there is. If the director says F you, get rid of them, get them out of here, they'll take you out. They'll physically push you off the set. So and that's good. Sometimes you and then later on everybody's like, clapping because they hated that person or that person was a total asshole to everyone. So I don't know. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes the director's just an asshole too. So yeah. I remember one set I was on, and the director had I think he was either Australian or British. Sometimes I have a hard time understanding that, the differences. And he kept saying, there was a motorcycle that kept going by, and then there was a flock of flamingos because it was on the set. We were doing it on a zoo it was at a zoo. It was at actual zoo, and it was at a building at the zoo, and the flock of flamingos, for some reason, every time you turn around, they would make this sound, these bird sounds. And he was like, shut the fucking birds up. And he kept saying that over and over again. And we're all like going, oh God, this guy, we can't deal with it. But he was nice. I mean, he was nice. He just could tell he was in a rush, but his accent, everybody would just, and you're trying not to laugh or make any expression because you don't want to make him even more mad. But I don't know. It's just, you just get to see it sometimes if you're on set long enough to see the director, be real happy and come up to you and say, wow, you did great. I loved it or whatever. And he's telling everybody what a great job. And then other times he's like, fuck, he's walking around just wanting everybody to be dead. So you just never know, but they are a god. Whatever they say is you're gone. I mean, he'll snap his finger. If you come on set and he goes, she looks like my ex-wife, get rid of her, stuff like that. So I don't know. It's just funny. That's the inside scoop, I guess I'll give you.
Cal might have to skip on date night. He's got a girlfriend. Sorry, Cal. It's just
That's good. I'm glad he has someone. I wish everyone had somebody.
Yeah. Somebody you got along with. Somebody you could have good times with.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind on a Sunday when I'm doing painting and such.
Well, somebody that you can be yourself with. See,
Yeah.
that's what I think is the most important. Someone you can pretend to be something with, or someone you can be your real self with.
Yeah.
But okay, now where were we again on the movie? What part we were getting ready for him to blow it up, to blow the place up? Remember?
Yeah. Looks like we're doing.
Underground.
And I'm loving these stills here. I really am, because I mean, you have the couch scene where Donald Moffat just goes,
Yeah.
ape shit. You know, I mean, the couch and the blood sample. It's just like perfect.
And that
You
was a
know-
lot of blood, though. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It didn't even need that much blood. 5 or 6 drops, and they would have done it. And because he put so much blood in there, and he's holding it in his hand, and he had no idea what the reaction was going to be. So, I mean, everyone was screaming. I'm sure everybody was screaming at the movie theater when that thing leaped out of the petri dish to try to get away from him, because it burned it.
I just love that scene.
So I wonder how they did that one scene right there. I mean, what
Probably had a wire go up his
sleeve,
shirt sleeve, and underneath the
put a puff of air in there and blew it up.
And have like a piece of a bladder inflate.
Yeah, something like that. It's good. His reaction to it too was very realistic. Everyone's reaction was really good. That scene was funny. I laughed at that part because he ruined the chess wizard for everyone. Lying bitch.
Lying bitch.
I thought it was a funny scene. Very good.
Peter Maloney gets a little closer to his Japanese waifu.
And the part where when they're setting up the whole thing with the rec room and stuff, and you see them when they're watching all these shows that they already. Oh, I've already seen the ending of this one. Pretty much they already know everything because they've already seen all of it already within weeks.
There's nothing more they can watch on these VHS tapes without watching old memories. That's it.
Yeah.
This guy could seriously creep the shit out of you. I mean, he did a good job. I love Brimley in this movie.
He just seemed very analytical about everything, and that's what made you see he's really, really smart, and he was constantly thinking about things, even when he wasn't speaking or saying anything, which I thought was really, really good and believable for his character.
I love how they did the opening credits for this.
Yeah, I was really surprised when I found out about how that was done. I was like, that is genius. And that's what's, and that was really gross.
I thought it was perfect, actually. I mean, this is.
Are you going to order that now, and so you can paint it? You're going to order some characters?
I'll find it.
That's really gross. Yeah, that was disgusting. See, that's why I wanted to wear these antennae on my Andorian wig, because I was like, oh, it looks like that head.
Yeah, it does.
It's all creepy looking. I would, but that's the only ones I had. I didn't have anything else that looked close to that. Yeah, that was just that whole scene. That was the most horrifying. Most horrifying, nightmarish scene was the one with the dogs in it. That just, I'm never gonna ever be able to forget that scene.
I was sleeping.
So realistic.
I was sleeping against the cushion on the couch. I had pulled a blanket up. I was enjoying myself. I was with my friend Tommy and his mom and his sister and his dad, and everybody else had left. They'd gone upstairs, and so it's just me and Tommy. And Tommy's on the rocking chair watching this movie, watching me fall asleep. He's like 6 or 7, and I'm there just starting to doze off. And this scene happens, and I'm stuck awake for the rest of the movie.
Well,
this movie was fucking badass.
In the living room, you set yourself up for that one. Yeah, that was a horrible scene. I mean, it wasn't just the visual part, though. It was the music and the dogs whining and crying and barking all at the same time. The intenseness of all of it put together is what pushed me over the top. I don't think I'll ever I'll never be able to forget it. And that was scary in itself too. But still, the dog scene to me was the scarier
The
than
dog
that.
scenes are scariest, but watching your buddy that you used to work with turn into an arachnid, and this is the type of shit that they ripped off for the Resident Evil series, and I'm not happy about this at all. This is great.
It is. That was just look at see the stuff that sprayed out up on the ceiling, just oozing off. Ugh, the detail. That is so much detail that people. Little things like that is what makes the movie so authentic. Oh, that part was so gross.
Here goes Windows.
That wasn't Windows.
This isn't Windows?
Is that Windows? Oh, I thought it was the guy on the couch. Oh, I guess it is, because remember he starts changing because he's attacking him. Yeah, but the guy on the couch, that scene, because remember the British guy was sitting next to him. That scene was just, that was repulsive.
Okay. Rob Bottin, John Carpenter.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing with props.
I bet they had fun.
Oh, God, they had to. Standing around British Columbia. Bottin at work.
Yeah, see, doesn't that kind of look like a hot tub that they decorated up to make it look like a big chunk of ice?
It does. It does look like that.
That's the first thing that popped in my head when I saw it. I was like, oh, they used a hot tub.
The wrong size, though, for 1981. Unless somebody had a lot of stupid money. A lot of fuck you money would be needed.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people had that.
I'm actually thinking not. I think maybe 100 or less people might have had a hot tub like that in 1981.
Yeah. I didn't even know what a hot tub was back then, so.
Was 6. I had no idea. I had no care about it. I have a bath. I don't like the bath either. I was always a shower kid.
See, what scene was that? Right there. What is that?
It looks like they're getting ready to film, or right after the dog scene.
I'm trying to remember. Is that where they were going to? Because they're facing up. Oh, maybe that's when the floor blows out or something.
Yeah.
Or the ceiling. I was trying to picture what that part was.
Remember the part where I said the guy had a mold of somebody else?
Uh-huh.
Here's the various faces that actor gave us.
Yep. Yeah, because that's the same actor over and over again, just different grimaces on his face when he got his arms tore off.
Serious talent.
Yeah.
Calm, cool, creative.
Yeah.
This is the last time John Carpenter looked like he was under 50. If you've seen the man now, you know what I'm talking about. He's a very nice man. He just looks like Crypt Keeper.
Well, everybody has to get old. Can't be young forever.
He's looked old since John Carpenter's Vampires. No. Yeah. Wow.
Wow, that's a cool picture. That is a really good picture.
I like that a lot.
That's, you can tell that's real snow and stuff.
Getting cold looking at it.
It looks real.
Yeah, I'm just getting cold looking at it. That's all I can think is like, I'm so glad to be here. Shit's just amazing.
Yeah, and I'm sure you like that because that's what you do.
Yeah, that's on a larger scale, but it's
but
what I do. Good God.
To paint things and make it look realistic.
I love what this guy does. Sadly, he retired about 20 years ago. He's not done a whole lot since
Have
then.
you ever thought about maybe taking a couple classes or something like that on creature development or whatever that's called? Creature creation?
There's a character that lives about 30 miles out west from here. And he saw the worm I did about 4 months ago. and he said, if you ever want to get involved and you've got the money stashed aside so you can live until your first paycheck, I might be able to help you. And I just didn't treat him seriously.
Yeah.
But right now he's unloading his Uber tonight. He just got back from Atlanta because he was doing the Wakanda Forever movie, the sequel to Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah.
And I wish I could say I gave a shit, but I don't. And I already have problems enough having to bank with ESG. I don't want to get paid by ESG.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds like, Bruce, you have too many problems there. Yeah, I know. I'd rather be broke than be paid by ESG. Sorry, kids. It's just the props are just so badass. I'm sorry, guys. Didn't you have Who Goes There? Do you have that novella?
Who, me?
Mm-hmm.
Me?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Okay, I thought for some odd reason I thought you had a novella of Who Goes There.
Mm-mm.
Yoga. Michael.
I mean, that's one bad thing though, is that I do have my stuff like in every nook and cranny somewhere in my house, in cabinets, and
Okay.
I collect a lot of things.
The thing about this film that I really like, I can't get away from, like, there's parts about this movie that I just always overanalyze, like all the gore, all the body horror, but there is there's an aspect about the movie that it's the suspense. And even though you've seen it 30 or 40 or 50 times, it always seems to hit really hard. Both the scene on the couch with the little prop and the petri dish, and then whenever the fight's going on at the very end, because it's down to the wire. We just lost Gary and Blair, and it's just McCready.
Yep.
That scene there where Stan Winston constructed the amalgamation of whatever it might be, that scene right there, I think that's actually perfection. And I know that Bottin designed it, and he was just dehydrated. He would stayed on site for 3 or 4 weeks, maybe all 5 weeks, but he's there sleeping on set 6 hours at most, and he's dehydrated and he's fatigued. So he goes to the hospital, and here comes Stan Winston to patch it up. It's a couple days worth of work. He builds this thing. He finishes it up, and Kurt Russell, well, fuck you too. He throws a stick of dynamite, and that's the end of the movie, basically. Well, not really, because afterwards he's got his JB Scotch, and Childs comes out, and they're just kind of looking at each other, trying to. It's like this under the current or under the radar measuring contest. Are you a thing? I'm not the thing. I'm the thing. Are you human? And it's like they're having that, and you don't really know how it turns out.
We know, as a viewer, we know that it's not Kurt Russell because we watched it, right? But Childs had left. We saw him leave while they were up in the tool shed, remember, before they went underground. And that's when Knowles says, "Hey, I see it's Childs, and he's whatever, going out somewhere. What's he doing?" They're like, "We don't know." So from that point on, he was out. He wasn't involved in anything. So we don't know what he was doing. We don't know if he actually thought he saw Blair and was going out to, because he was told to stay there and watch those that one person or something, wasn't he? Okay, so he wasn't doing what they asked him, but his character was like that. His character didn't work well with others. That was one of the reasons why nobody trusted him, because he didn't trust anyone, right?
Correct.
So it left us hanging about whether or not he was a duplicate or was the real authentic person. So that left you thinking that, it is best that they freeze to death, because the bad thing is, um, the alien creature would want to freeze to death there, because he knows, or the creature would know, that sooner or later they're going to send people to find out what's going on, and they'll be rescued and they'll get to go wherever they're going to go and take over the world. Because if the creature had just left and went out in the wild, it would have froze to death. But it could be another 100,000s of years before someone found it again. See, so it didn't want to go out there. It wanted to stay to where it knew it would probably be picked up by somebody. So
Now, in 2003, a couple of hardcore fans, Todd Cameron and Steve Crawford, ventured to the remote filming location in Stewart, British Columbia. After 21 years, they found remains of Outpost 31 and a Norwegian helicopter. The rotor blade from the chopper now belongs to Todd and rests in his collection of memorabilia from the film. That's crazy. That's great.
And who has it?
A super fan of this show,
Oh.
Todd Cameron and Steve Crawford. I believe they run Outpost 31, which is a fan site for The Thing. Todd Cameron does.
Well,
This is the one of the movies that Carpenter doesn't really score himself. It was the original choice of the composer was Jerry Goldsmith, but he's like, swerve. And, Morricone, he composes a very low-key Carpenter-esque score. And he's like, how would Carpenter want to do this? And he did a lot of brooding, a lot of bass chords. And it's kind of interesting because he got nominated for a Razzie for the worst score.
yeah.
Keep in mind, like I said earlier, this is the same day that Blade Runner gets released. Both movies are hit with worst critical reactions. And after the premiere, they are beaten by a more positive and kind movie called E.T., the Extraterrestrial.
Didn't Blade, though, do really, really good?
Nope. Blade Runner and this movie both bombed at the box office. It
Blade
wasn't
Runner?
until the 90s. Blade Runner and this
Oh, I
movie
thought you
were
said
on the same
Blade.
day. No, not Blade. Blade Runner and this movie opened on the same day in 1982. And it wasn't until the 90s when they got their comeuppance. They were actually rewarded for being cult movies that had weathered the test of time and the fans loved them.
Mm-hmm.
Roger Ebert hated the movie. The original director, Howard Hawks, hated the movie. He's like, it's a great advertisement for J&B Scotch. But if you want a movie that has better blood than this, you can pick anything. You can find anything better than this.
Well, my mom always said if the people, the movie star people liked the movie, then she wouldn't go watch it because it would probably be not good. But if the critics said that it was shit, then she would go see it. And she said more than likely she liked it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, how did you learn that? And she said, well, all the Elvis movies were hated by critics, and I loved all of them. So my mom always said she loved Elvis. So
now the Carpenter has a piece where part of the running that Jed does is not actually all of Jed. There's another couple frames in there where they actually have another dog running in a few scenes, and it's a dog painted up to look like Jed. But
yeah,
Jed does the majority of all the work in the movie. There's 2 dogs total that did work on this film. Jed is 95% of it. Adrienne Barbeau is the voice of the chess master.
oh really?
Yeah.
Okay, so she's a computer voice.
Yeah, and that was John Carpenter's wife at the time.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to know why she was John Carpenter's wife, just watch the movie Swamp Thing. That was a great movie.
Yeah, that was a good movie too. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't a horror movie.
Yeah, it's a comic book film.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying. I'm telling you that. Never mind. It doesn't matter.
It's good. It's good. John W. Campbell Jr. did the writing for a short novella called Who Goes There, and that's what this was originally based on.
Mhm.
When The Thing came out in 1951 with James Arness, they got away from that quite a bit. And then somebody started talking about making a Thing remake in the late 70s after
Mhm.
King Kong had been made. And they're like, it has to be a little bit better because that one there, it deviates too much from source material. And like, what source material? So once they started reading the book and the novella came out and started getting passed around Hollywood,
Yeah.
that's when the script became a thing.
So, is it which movie is more like the actual story?
This
This
movie.
one? Okay.
Yep.
Well, this is the only one I've ever seen had anything to do with this. I didn't see any of the other movies. So,
Kind of funny because the Finns did not allow this movie to be shown in the theaters.
why? Why do you think?
Probably because it gave a poor showing of Norwegian people.
Well,
American
yeah,
audience.
and plus they're being ruled. Aren't they ruled by a king or something?
They are.
So that knights penguins once a year or something.
Now, that I believe he does something like that. It's kind of crazy. Now, before this got released, Fangoria magazine, remember that one? Remember Fangoria, kids?
Mm-mm.
It's a good fanzine. People were asked to draw the Thing to see if anybody could guess what it's going to look like. The winner won a trip to Universal Studios to watch the movie at the premiere.
Mhm.
Pretty interesting.
Do you have that picture so we can see it?
No, I don't. Poster artist Drew Struzan created the poster for the film basically overnight without having any publicity photos at his availability. Okay, Janet, food's
Yes.
here. I'm gonna
Oh, your food's in?
let me go grab that. Give me about 3 minutes.
Okay. Hold on.
Guys, you're going to be entertained by a professional.
Okay, hold on. Let's see if I have any more notes that I haven't read yet. Nope, I've read everything. Sorry, guys. But yeah, this movie was really, really good. I enjoyed it. And if you hadn't seen it before, I think you should rent it and watch it. So if you like sci-fi horror, you will love this. So it's really good. If it's got a little bit of everything in it, except for women. It doesn't have any TNA in it. So you'll be out. But if you want to drop any movies off by writing down, or sending them to us in our Discord or even in this chat, Bruce can look them up and give us some ideas of some new movies, because we haven't decided what we want to do starting next month for November. I don't really like comedies, so I hope you guys don't choose comedies. There's very few comedies that I like. And I wish I could read what you guys are saying. If you're saying anything, I don't even know if you're saying anything. I haven't figured out how to do that. Every time I tried to open the chat so I can actually chat back with you on this, whatever this is called, StreamYards, I end up disconnecting myself. So, or it's too loud and I have double sounds. So one day someone will teach me how to do it right, or I'll have to get a journal or something and have it written down and tell me how to do it every time, because I don't know how to do it. I can't remember how to do it. But I hope you enjoyed us talking about this movie, because we both agreed this is one of our very favorite sci-fi horrors. And to me, it's my very favorite one. I really enjoy this movie. It's great. I give it 4 stars. And I hope you guys are having a happy Halloween. This is my favorite day of the year. I love Halloween more than any other holiday, where a grown-up can be whatever they want to be for one day. How often do we get to do that? Not very often. I don't know what else to say about the movie. I mean, I've pretty much said everything I want. Oh yeah, is that what creature is that based off of?
This is based off of a purple worm. And a friend of mine saw this and he's like, that's pretty badass. And he put it on his Instagram back when
I've seen it before. I'm trying to remember. Was it from Doom?
Yeah, it could be from Doom.
Yeah, because it kind of looks like, I mean, it's more spiky and stuff on the back, and the colors are different. But when you paint it yourself, you can do anything you want with it. You get to use your imagination.
So
it is really good.
I love this figure, and a friend of mine saw it, and he's like, you got to talk to this guy. And that was like 4 months ago. Then his dad calls up my office, and I got sent out there to do a pump call. So I get there, and he's like, oh, you're the one my son wants to talk to. What? I'm just a shitlord. And he's like, no, you do miniatures. And I'm like, okay. So he saw this, and he was like trying to get me to, no, we have a production company. So I'm supposed to talk to some guys in Bernie. I don't know how much, I don't know what, but if they need miniatures painted, we'll talk. I'm about finished with the commission. I'm getting ready to ship off 11 figures to the country of Slovakia for a person that's ordered some, and it'll be interesting. I'll say that.
So do you have a website like for Etsy or whatever set up? No. I've been trying to set up an Etsy, but I'm just not good with the technical stuff. So if you ever do set up a page, will you give me some hints so I can put my stuff on it? Because I did have a lot of my crafts, the crochet bags that I make and things like that on Pinterest. And I did that for a while, but then Pinterest started doing different things about regulations and things about being able to sell things. And they just started doing a bunch of stuff like, what was it? Not PayPal, but Square. Remember I told you I used Square, and it went from 2%, which I thought was fair. And then it went to 6%. And it was like, and then they keep raising it, it seems like every couple of months. And it's like, you're doing all the work. Yeah. And all you're doing is swiping that card, and that's the only thing it's for. And they're going to charge that much money from you. And when you have a product that's only like $45, I mean, it's just not worth it. You got to sell so many pieces just to get the money to pay them. So I don't know. I just think that's ridiculous. I think they're just rip-off artists. So having your own website would be the best thing for you to categorize all your characters and have good shots of them, from different angles so that the customers can see what you have.
Very true.
And that's what I would do if I were you. It's going to take you some time, though.
That's the plan. That's the plan.
You'll sell more that way, too.
With this movie, would you say this is like one of your favorites?
This is my very favorite sci-fi horror, period. That's why we both agreed that we wanted to do it for Halloween, because we both loved this movie. This is a 4 stars. This is a 4-star movie. I don't usually give a movie exactly a 10 or whatever. To me, this is as close to perfection when it comes to every part of the movie. Mm-hmm. So just like I said about Tombstone, it was almost perfection. But it's on a different realm. So what?
I think this is a 9.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say that too.
It's a great movie. It's close to my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you keeping score, you'll see it again on the 31st of December when we do our New Year's Eve stream. I have no problem saying this movie is a favorite. This is not my favorite movie, but it's very close. My favorite movie has
Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah, still, because that movie has everything. It's got the fight. It's got the music. It's got the pacing. It's way too cool.
Yeah, but
It
the
is.
thing is, I don't have one single movie that's my favorite. I have a favorite in different categories
Genres, yeah.
because you cannot put a comedy next to a sci-fi horror. It just you just can't do it. I mean, it's just there's no way to do it
Janet,
that way.
Janet, I can watch this movie and then go to Caddyshack without a skip and a beat. I
No,
love.
I mean to rate it.
Oh,
You
okay.
can't. That's what I mean. I'm not talking about watching this movie and watching that. I'm talking about when you rate this movie next to another movie.
Yeah.
It should be in the same realm, to judge them
The-
side by side. Like I said,
Yeah.
Alien or this movie, because they're both sci-fi horrors. But you're not going to put a movie like The Three Amigos next to this movie because it's a comedy. There's no way to judge it, for its merit if you're judging it against something that's not even in the realm that it's in. I mean, that's what I'm saying. But maybe you would. I just wouldn't. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do that.
This movie and Aliens, the 1986 Aliens,
Mhm.
even the theatrical cut in this movie are really close.
Yeah, they are very close.
I could enjoy both movies back to back to back. I could watch them both a lot. In fact,
Yeah.
I'm actually thinking about watching The Thing after we're done with this show tonight while I paint more figurines. Listen to the director's commentary track.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have that on my disc. I bought the collector's edition where it has, all the extra stuff, the features and stuff, which I always tried to get when it's a movie that I really, really liked. But to me, it's just, I think it's almost, I mean, it's not quite a 10-10, but it's like very close. It's one of the closest movies to a 10 that I've ever seen because it fills every single category in the plus, you know what I mean? Very few little negatives, but it took me having to watch it 25, 30 times before I started even noticing nitpicking, like I said about the guy shooting and not seeing the little marks in the snow. But when it comes to the script, the props, the acting, the screenwriting, the scenery, the music, I mean, you put all that in this. Like I said, that's what I do in a checkbox. I have my list in my mind of what about the director? What about the actors? What about this? What about that? I go down the list and check it off as I go. And then it's usually by the time I get to the editing is where I was like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's almost always that way for some reason because this scene was phenomenal. This scene was phenomenal. But when they tried to put the puzzle pieces together, they messed up big time and ruined the perfectly good scenes because of the way they put it all together. And that's all comes to editing. And they can do the same thing with music where you have really good music in a couple of scenes. And then all of a sudden the music's like, doesn't go with anything, things like that. And that's editing too, but it's the music part of the editing. So different things like that, that ruins something that could be so good, in other aspects, but oh well. I'm a girl. I guess I nitpick things I shouldn't.
It's okay. Bazette says that she just saw Big Trouble in Little China not long ago, and it's really impressive how good that movie is.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's very well made. Very well made. But you know what? I think Kurt Russell did very good at whether he had a lot to say or whether it was his agent or whatever. He did very well at picking movies that fit him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Isn't he the one? Wasn't he in a movie called Something Soldier or something like that?
Yeah, he was in Soldier, 1998 movie.
Even that movie.
I love that. I do like that one a lot.
The diversity of his, even the movie Overboard, which a lot of people hated that he was in with his wife. The character he played in the movie, he did very well at playing that character. You know what I'm saying? He's
Yeah.
always plays all his characters to the maximum. I mean, like Snake Plissken, all of it. They fit him well. He's just good at them.
Here's a heartbreaking photo.
Oh,
Bill Paxton, and this is Newt herself. That's Carrie Henn in 2016, shortly before his death. Let me
that's
see
her all grown up.
Yeah, and she's beautiful, I think.
We're gonna die, man. We're all gonna die.
He died in 2017. He was a man out of Fort Worth, Texas. That sucked. He was in he's been in so many favorite movies of mine. I'm going to one of these days go to his gravesite and pour him a beer.
Yeah, my favorite movie. Let's see if you remember which one I thought he was in. He's in a lot of good movies, but my favorite.
Terminator? No.
No.
Predator 2? No.
True Lies.
Aliens? No.
True Lies.
Yes.
The scene in True Lies where he's talking to Arnold Schwarzenegger about his wife is the best scene I've ever seen him in. And it was so believable. It was so funny. It was like that character was written specifically for him, period. No one, I can't even visualize anyone else playing that part. That's when I can say that scene or that line or whatever was made for that person, that nobody else could act in that position. And that's how I try to pick it for my favorite actor, for whatever movie and what they're in. And that's how I usually choose it, is that I try to visualize someone else in the position. And when you can't, that means that part was made for that person. And that's rare too.
So next week, what do you want us to watch, Janet? This was kind of a joint venture that we both.
I don't know. I haven't even thought about it. Why don't you pick it and then I'll take the next one? Because I haven't even thought about it. I figured this was I didn't even think about picking a movie. Okay. And what genre? Remember, we never really decided what we were going to do in November.
We could stay in sci-fi horror if you want, or we could go and just kind of get out of that for a bit, because we did fantasy for the month of October, and the 5th week we did this.
Trying to think. What would
I know what movie I want to have. Shadow, take care of yourself. The movie that I would suggest we watch is the Wayne Kramer 2006 movie Running Scared with Paul Walker and Chaz Palminteri.
Okay, Running Scared. It sounds familiar, but I don't know if I've seen it or not.
That is a good movie. That's next year, probably March.
Cat People.
He's like, no, Jim Cotta. Oh God.
I mean, if I was going to pick a movie, if I had to pick another sci-fi movie, it would have been Close Encounters. That's a really, really good, another really good movie that has a lot of the boxes checked off.
I've been watching a lot of Steven Spielberg lately, and I just finished. Not 8 Below. 8 Below is a good movie, but I'm not a big fan of Moon. I'm not a big fan of Moonglow or whatever her name is. Lady, take care of yourself. They're like, no, Flash Gordon. Watch Flash Gordon.
Flash Gordon's an excellent movie. That's another one that was very good. But see, I like musicals. I mean, I loved Rocky Horror Picture Show. I remember, was it you that I was telling that I was like, the first time I got to see it, I got picked up and I was taken to the place, and it was a midnight movie. And I remember getting out of the car and I'm walking and I'm seeing people dressed like they were dressed for the movie. And I was like, what the fuck am I getting myself into? That's all I was thinking. I wanted to go home because I didn't know what was going to happen. It was scary until I got inside and, I started talking to people and stuff. And I realized that it was just people dressing up because they love the movie. So, but it was a lot of fun. And then I went to like 20 different times and almost always dressed as Magenta. So I didn't want to be Janet.
I don't want to watch Eight Below. I'm sorry, that's not the movie I want to watch. That's a heartbreaker at the end. It's like, oh, why don't you guys watch Old Yeller?
Little Shop of Horrors is good too. Gosh, these are some great ideas.
Oh
That's a
yeah,
great one.
it's a great movie. I want you to watch Paul Walker's Running Scared, because that's a movie that doesn't get a lot of discussion much,
Okay.
and
And then hopefully by then I'll come up with something.
have a decision. If
Yeah.
I mean, I would not be adverse to Close Encounters of the Third Kind. That is the first movie I was ever in the theaters to watch. I was 2. My
Oh,
parents
really?
took me.
I'd have to go back and look.
My dad wanted to see that movie really bad because he's a big fan of the paranormal stuff and UFOs. He grew up not far from Hudson River Valley in New York, and so him and his father, my grandfather and him, just saw UFOs like a lot. So when that movie came out, we saw it in theaters. When it came on TV, we didn't do anything that night, and then we watched Close Encounters director's cut endlessly until it's committed to brain, it's committed to memory. Even though the one character, Steven Spielberg, wrote him to where he just abandons Terry Garr and his 2 kids, and he goes into a UFO, and it's kind of weird because he just abandons his family and just goes off to see the UFO. Just
Yeah.
That's the only wonky thing about that movie, but it's a great movie. It's a wonderful movie.
Well, I mean, to me, that wasn't really that dumb. I mean, once you live through what they went through, I could see why he would want to do it. I could understand that.
He had an opportunity that
Another good movie, though, is The Abyss. Remember that one?
1989. Yes.
I can't remember what that lead actor's name was that was in it, but that was a good movie. That's another sci-fi horror or whatever. It was very good.
See, I feel that anything put down on this earth by James Cameron is a fantastic film, and The Abyss is just one of those.
If you had to pick a director today, I mean, that makes movies right now, that you thought was as good as any of these guys, is there any? That comes to mind?
My heroes for directing movies is the 80s and 90s. And so James Cameron and Steven Spielberg and George Lucas were in that Cool Kids Club. But I would say the new directors that I've been watching, let me look it up.
Who directed the John Wick movies?
That would be one director I would pick.
Yeah, I was gonna say I like his movies, and I was trying to think of a couple of other ones, but I'm really bad with. I just don't remember people's names.
You got Stolsky and David Leitch, but David Leitch, he's uncredited as a director, but he was as much of a director as Chad Stolsky was, and both of those guys are really good. They've done a lot of stunt work and choreography work all throughout their career, leading up to this. The movie that I was like, ooh, because somebody put Dog Soldiers in the commentary in the chat, and I'm like, Neil Marshall is a very fine actor. He's not exactly a spring chicken. He's a little older than me, I think, but he's a really good actor and a really good director, I think.
The director that made that movie with Uma Thurman, and she was a swordswoman. I'm trying to remember the name of the movie right this second.
Did Kill Bill.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I thought his movies were pretty good. I mean, he wasn't the very best, but Kill Bill was awesome.
See, I like Neil Marshall quite a bit. Quentin Tarantino is great, but he's so full of himself that I don't take him as seriously as
Yeah.
I could.
Yeah, I think that if he wasn't, his personality wasn't so narcissistic, that his movies would be so much better. Can
Yeah.
you imagine a better Kill Bill? I mean, if you just step back and look at it and try
Not
to
really.
picture it just a little better, if he
No.
would just drop his narcissism, I don't even know what limits there would be for him. I mean, I really don't. I mean, his
He'd
vision
be
is just
limitless.
amazing, but it's sad that personality steps in sometimes, and I don't know why, but a narcissist just can't seem to get past themselves to show everyone else the same vision they have, and that's sad. But you meet a lot of them.
That's very true. There was a movie back in 2005 called The Descent about a
Mhm.
group of cavers that
Yeah, I love that movie. That was really good too.
that
Who
they
is
go
that?
down and they meet the Darrows, basically, which if you're familiar with the Richard Shaver Chronicles, hey guys, we're going back in time to Amazing Stories. Amazing Stories put out a series of articles written as a story by a guy that claimed that he was being kidnapped all the time and taken down deep into their bowels of the earth by these little creatures called Darrows.
Mm-hmm.
And the Descent movie is pretty much a nod or an homage to that. And it's really great suspense film. I wish the second movie had lived up to the first. The second movie has some closure to it, at least.
Yeah.
But the first movie is a great suspense movie, and it came out about the same time where everybody's making these movies in caves. So you have very low lighting, very low cost. You have to just have insurance and people that can train your people how to use ropes and rappel, because there's a lot of rappelling to and from various locations,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. And it was a hell of a ride for a very low budget. I think Neil Marshall would be my guy because he does gore on a budget really well.
Yeah, see, I'm more into psychological thrillers, like Hannibal, things like that, where it's like, Mr. Brooks, the psychological aspect of horror to me is, I'm more, that scares me more than actual too much, more visual. I mean, just like this movie, it wasn't just the visual of the dog going into the cage. It was the music, the sounds that surrounded it, and the reaction of the people involved in the scene too. Is the overall aspect of it is what made it psychological damage. You know what I mean? It just like you said, it jolted you out of your laying position of relaxation because of most likely the sound effects, not even being too visual, because you had to jump up to see what it was, right?
Yes.
Because the sound of the music and the animals and the people hollering and everything, it made you have to look, even though you didn't want to. It's one of those things that you're in a haunted house and you're grabbing your daddy and you're hanging on his arm, or you got your face buried in his shirt, and you can't help but turn your head and to see the horror, even though you don't want to. In your mind, you're not wanting to look. But I remember that because my dad would take us to all these really cool haunted houses, like when we lived in Spokane, Washington, and the ones that you'd pay $10 a person to go in, and they rooms filled with the creepiest, scariest, stuff. And I just remember growing up with it, and I just loved that stuff. My dad was into horror, and I would watch all kinds of movies with my dad. And, I just, like Jaws and stuff like that, just all kinds of cool, creepy, scary stuff with my dad, and sci-fi stuff. Because my mom was never into any of that stuff. My mom liked musicals and stuff like that. So I watched a few with my mom, but most of the stuff I watched with my dad because I was more into what he liked than my mom.
It's understandable.
Well,
Peter Jackson he's not old, but he's going to be getting there. He's going to be 61 this year.
mm-hmm.
Today he's 61. Actually, he was born on Halloween.
Yeah, today's Drew's mother's birthday. So he sent me a message and asked if I would go over there after I was finished here. So I think I will, if he's still going at it.
Okay. Peter Jackson, if he was a little younger, I'd say, yeah, he'd be my director for today. But his work that he did before Lord of the Rings is just as good, I feel, although it's not sung about as much. Not many people say, oh my God, I love Dead Alive, which if you are familiar with the movie Dead Alive, you know what I just dropped a gold nugget there. For those of you who've never seen Dead Alive, talk to me on Discord. Bruce will hook you up. I want you guys. I'm just saying. I have an idea where you might be able to see it. I just kind of know, but it's one of those great gory as hell zombie films that does not do zombie the way that Americans fuck up zombie movies. So, with that, do you have anything else that you?
Nope. I've pretty much said everything that I could possibly say about it. That it's a phenomenal movie, and if you're into sci-fi horror, I think this is the very best one ever made that I've ever seen.
I have to agree. I mean, this is for horror. This is top shelf. This is one of my absolute favorites. I mean, it's got so many things that in pop culture people look to that and they reach for the heights that this hit. And they try to do it like you have Ice, the episode of X-Files where season 1 set up in the Arctic, and it's a fucking homage to this movie if there ever was one.
Yeah.
You have the entire Resident Evil series. If you are a gamer, you know what I'm talking about because they thrive on making games that reach back to John Carpenter and Rob Bottin's work on The Thing. So much pop culture swings on this door so hard, and I'm so very thankful that I was able to watch this movie, and it pretty much messed me up. But it's a fun movie.
It worked you, but you still thought it was worth it.
It's an amazing film. My mom and my dad, we can't agree on this movie because my parents think it's just too gory. They're of the old school mindset. That's just gore for gore's sake. And now my dad asks me, he's like,
the Meat Train was gore for gore's sake.
Which one?
The Meat Train movie that you wanted me to watch.
Midnight Meat Train.
Yeah, Midnight Meat Train. Yeah, that was all gore. Yeah, you have to watch that other movie, Terror Train, with Jamie Lee Curtis.
I will. I'll see it. I mean, I'm not a big Jamie Lee Curtis guy, but okay.
No, but she's better than that other girl that you didn't like. The one you said can't act out of a bag from the
There's a lot of those.
Gothica. What was her name?
Talking about Halle Berry?
No, the other one. The one you said had the weird lips or whatever.
Oh, Penelope Cruz.
Yeah.
God damn it. She does great in foreign movies. If she ever is in a movie where she does a foreign language, just watch her in foreign language and watch her do the subtitles. Do that. You'll be happy. When she tries to speak English, her lips flap like an Arby's beef sandwich in the wind. It's terrible.
Oh, I didn't see any of that, but yeah, I can see why you might.
I've seen a gyro hold its shape better than this.
Looks like this. Duck lips.
So, one last thing I do want to add to this. Just think about The Thing. If it would have had Clint Eastwood or Harrison Ford as MacReady. There was also Nick Nolte, Jeff Bridges. These 4 men said no to MacReady.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I can't picture any of them in this movie.
Harrison Ford and Clint Eastwood already had jobs at the time. They were doing things. And you have Nick Nolte and Jeff Bridges, which were like, what is it? A remake of a science fiction movie from 50s? Now we'll pass.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad they did because I think Kurt Russell did phenomenal. in this movie.
He definitely did like the job that not many other men can do, where they can sell their trade to other men. Like, this is a manly guy. Be like McCready.
It's
And
almost
then-
like he takes movies and chooses these parts because that's him. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? That's his personality, the way he views things, the way he handles things. It's almost like very natural, the parts that he plays. You know what I mean? It's like he just steps into it because it's what he does every day or something. At least
And-
that's what it seems like.
And the other thing about this movie, look at all the costumes that everybody's wearing. Look at all their jackets and their layers. They're all really muted colors, like grays and dark
Drab.
gray.
Very drab.
Drab as shit. And that way, when Rob Bottin got to work and he had to animate something or he had to do something, it would jump off the screen at you.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, plus, there was no reason to put a lot of color in it because there was so much darkness. You know, it
Mhm.
was so many shadows and dark nooks and crannies. So if you had a red or orange shirt on or bright yellow, it would take away from the scene and from the vision that he was trying to show us, for the desolation. You know what I mean? It was so destitute and barren and ominous. You know what I mean? So I think that's why he did, just like what the movie M. Night Shyamalan did with the little boy that saw dead people.
yeah, Sense, the Sixth Sense.
Love that movie, The Sixth Sense. I loved it. I love the whole red doorknob and the red door and the red, you know, the red standing out on different things. That whole aspect, of different vision. See, that was his vision of what he saw when he read the script or he wrote the script or whatever. The story, him trying to get it to come across to us as a viewer, to be able to envision it. And that's what separates the different directors. It's sticking to their guns and trying to see it through fruition, and that's, to me, sometimes why something is successful and why other things aren't. Just like you see so many movies start out really good and then something happens to the director, or somebody's injured or hurt and the director has to leave, and then they bring in another one, and then you could tell it's not the same. It's just not the same thing it would have been if they had finished it with the person they had in at the beginning. And we've already done a couple of movies I know that's had that happen. Halfway through the movie, one of the actors died, or the director, something happened, the director had to leave, or whatever. And what it does, the devastation it does to the actual creative story. You know what I mean?
True.
So, yeah. But that's life. I mean, shit happens. And we have to try to do the best we can to put the pieces back together and make it sellable or something, entertainable. But thanks for spending Halloween with me. It was
Thank
fun.
you very much, everybody, for coming by. I've got to hold on just a moment. I'm going to check my YouTube here because I scrammed her from the chat on StreamYards, but I want to make sure that I scrammed her from. Okay. Yep. Grandma was deleted by me. That's awesome.
Do what?
We had a lady in the chat that was being a problem. And Bowsette, I know you probably don't want to, but you've been now given a wrench. And so
What did she say? I miss it. See, I miss so much good stuff because I don't know how to read the chat like other people on my computer.
you're
I
good.
don't know how to set it up.
You're probably better for this. She was just being a spammy little bitch. Fat Gamer's like, yes, I love the Big Trouble in Little China. Amanal's like, I love the Aeon Flux cartoons. And Bowsette's agreeing with you. Sixth Sense was awesome. And Tommy just comes in. I missed smashing a troll. I was painting, but I caught her afterwards. And everybody's like, damn it.
Sorry, guys.
But we didn't have any sex spots tonight, did we?
No.
That's good, isn't it?
Yeah, that's weird.
It is weird. It's like it's funny that somebody
Hammer come in
like
here.
somebody
Not a sex bot.
somebody got fired or something, and maybe we aren't going to have any more.
But, well, they might be doing something different at the internet cafe on the other side of the world.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just weird. Because I kept waiting for you to say, "Look, we got visitors."
Well, everybody, if you can, check out the movie Running Scared. It is a 2006 movie with Paul Walker, Chaz Palminteri. There's quite a few others in there as well, Vera Farmiga. But I recommend we'll be talking about that next week. And anybody here has a question about what we discussed here tonight, hit me down in the comment section or ask Janet on her Discord. Let me grab you her Discord real quick. So I'm trying to help Janet grow. I love it whenever she gets people joining her Discord. Six Nations, 31 Kings, you've been a gentleman the entire time you've been in here. Don't think any less of yourself. You're really good dude. Okay. Not trying to inflate you artificially. I'm trying to tell you that you've always been very respectful whenever you come in here. You've been really nice with every single individual, mod or otherwise. You're respectful of the panel, and you don't cause a problem in the comment section. Of course, I'm going to give you if you want it, you can have it. If you don't want it, you don't have to use it. I'm not going to get that upset. But this is something I feel that, hey, appreciate that. Calvin on he's like, Janet looks grown. Yeah. Janet is her subscriber count's getting up there.
I don't understand what's grown means. I look like I'm grown.
Your sub counts are growing. I'll say that much.
Oh, okay.
Bowsette. Yeah. Bowsette's mod. Awesome. Thank you, Bowsette. I mentioned feet and no spec spots. Oh, wow. Okay. Anyway, Janet, do you have anything to say before we shut down the balcony for tonight?
No, I think I pretty much said everything. It's that I really like this movie. It was really, really good. If you're into sci-fi horror, I really think you should enjoy this movie. Even though it's older, it's got everything. It's got everything you want in it. Good acting, good directing, good script, good music. It touches all the bases.
All of them.
Mm-hmm.
Snortopupus, I'm going to end this on his. He says, I don't worry about sex bots or account. The National Geographic Arctic Porn Channel for my thrills.
That's right.
Everybody that spent some time here tonight, be it the entire time or just a little bit, me and Janet appreciate you for the time you've spent with us.
Yeah, thank you for spending your Halloween with us.
Yes, we hope we gave you something to laugh about and some things to think about as well. Please, everybody, be careful, and I look forward to seeing you all next Monday.
Bye.